This world is broken. The science is outdated, the math is incomplete, and the people are so blinded by greed that they cannot see the way forward.
Wait. You're not thinking of intervening, are you?
It has to be corrected. Knowledge is not a commodity. It has been and always will be their future. Standing in the shadows is no longer an option. We have to teach them to share freely without fear of retribution.
There is too much to teach for just one person.
I know. We will have to recruit more people who think the right way. The people who have been shunned by the mainstream. People who have the passion in their heart for the science.
How do we find all of these people then?
We create an open forum to discuss ideas and build ties. We let everyone have a voice, and we never let greed dictate our path.
What do we call it then? Oh, I got it. The Fringe think tank.
The Fringe think tank it is then. Now let's give them back their destiny and open it up to the world.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Fringe think tank. My name is Nathan, otherwise known as Old Man Builds. The Benefactor and Gerald will be here with us shortly. I just want to start off the show. I watched Bob Greenyer the other day, and I wanted to add something to what he did, and I thought it was very interesting. So I'm going to share this. This is the display he showed the other day, or the picture, the plasmoid on the left and right, and he compared it to the Tesla Tower. And I just want to add to this because there's something more here that I don't think he knows, or maybe he knows and didn't show. Either one. This right here is your octave musical scale. And if you can already see it, there's a similarity here. So when he talks about transmutation, this right here is actually in it. So let's go ahead and put them side by side, and I'm going to rotate this one to the right just a little bit. Now we can start to see it. You see the circles are now starting to line up. Now we're starting to get a better view of what he was looking at. So let's just go one step further. That right there is the overlay. Now, why is this important? It's because it's telling you that when you're building these plasmoids, you're building in there a frequency octave scale along with, basically music, if you want to say that. So if you understand that portion of it, transmutation becomes easy to understand. You can understand how building these plasmoids would get you there. I still think there's a vortex missing on the top, but that's just me. It might be the plasmoids are built for a different purpose than what I would use them for, but that's okay. So let's take a look. Let's go into this just a little bit deeper. Right there is his football. He was talking about it's written into every church, and it is. Clear structural, the same. This right here, if you wind it correctly, you get the frequencies. This is why geometry coils are so special to making plasmoids. Now let's look at this. Probably one of the most interesting things that you'll ever see. This is the same thing, guys. This is talking about octave, musical scale. It's talking about your plasmoids here. It goes a little more in depth. You see the ear there. You see that you can hear it. It makes sound. It's all in here. You can see the DNA structure right there. You understand why it's transmutation. And this one has a little bit of thing, looks like kind of UFO structures in it. It'd just be interesting to look at it. We understand this in one way, but there's more to it here. You see the color scale there on the top right? That also plays a big part in how this stuff is built because, light's going to become matter, and there's going to be a transformation there. and you're going to create the light based on the fields that you create. So, man, is it going to be interesting when they finally get all the rest of this together and understand it. I have, quite a bit of these pictures and put it together, but guys, that's right there. They missed one side of it, and I think that's why there's not, how do I say this? There's not a vortex on the top and bottom when they look at it in all these pictures, because they don't have the cold side. If you basically based everything on the hot side of energy, well, you're missing half of it. So things will have to readjust in how they go together just by a little bit, but it's going to give you your vortex on the top and bottom, and then it's going to give you your 0-point energy. So let's go back and we're going to look at this one more time. Go back through it. Again, he showed it in the Tesla Tower. You see it on the right. It's just a little bit out of place in the center with the small one. And it has to do with that vortex on the top. You have to have the negative energy, which is the cold energy. You have to have the hot energy, which is the positive energy. Once you have both, then they start to align even better. So let's go through it again. We can see it overlay here. There's no question that most of it overlays. We know it's there. There's no hiding it anymore. Everybody's come out with it. This is Tesla. This is Greenyer. This is everything all rolled into one. Frequency, octave, everything. The only reason it's off is because you do not have enough, I don't want to say it, enough binds in the rope, enough points where it comes down and meets before it goes on there. So you get the wrong octave out of it. But there's a structure. We see that one. This is the most interesting one here. And this has to do everything with why you build a geometry coil in order to produce it. And I think everybody knows this when they finally come across the technology. You start to see the frequency. This is known by Hutchinson. You saw him turn the dial when you see the Hutchinson experiment and stuff like that when he's trying to clean that river. You see him running through these frequencies. Depending on how you wind it, the frequencies go in a certain order. You could say 396 goes down to 639, then back to 963, and then it continues again. So you have to have an understanding of the frequency in order to turn this stuff, in order to make the flow correct. So I put this in here to give everybody a hint. There's more to it than what you think there is. This is not just making a couple hot balls of energy, guys. This is a total understanding of how everything's working. So let's take a look at this. This is probably the most interesting thing. So we're going to zoom in. I just want to see. You could see right here in the center. We're looking at different colors. We're looking at, these look like spaceships here or UFOs that are on this. I find that really interesting. We see our musical scale here on the right. We see the keyboard. It also has to do with this scale on the right here. And that may be the plasmoids. I don't know. I would let Bob answer that, to be honest with you. The colors are definitely the light scale and how things come in the light. So it's all right there. This is all the information. You could see it one side and the other, plasmoid on the left, plasmoid on the right. We could see that it puts out frequency that you can hear the sound, and we see all the balls in there. Now they're represented a little different in here, but it's not going to change what it is. This one right here. So we'll look at it again. We clearly have the football shape in the center. We clearly have the plasmoid on the left and the right. We also still have the scale. Now, when I say those little structures, and I'm talking about wavelength, the octave. So let me see if I can't zoom in on it. Right over here, we get the wavelength on the left-hand side, and you'll see there's one that's big. Then they break into 3s or 2s when you do wavelengths. Now, those right there are radio frequencies. Like when you put into your Tesla coil, basically what it means is you're going to hit a resonance frequency between one and the next one as long as they break up in that manner, and they'll resonate in between all of them. The only difference is as they resonate, you'll be in a different octave in each one of them. So basically like the tuning of a singer, you're just going to be off by a little bit, which is okay as long as you line them up. So a lot of this stuff that we do, man, you're going to have to figure that out and how to line these things up. But once you do, it's pretty easy. Then you look at the rest. They have the triangles in there. They have everything. This one structure right here is pretty important, guys. And we had looked before at the triangle structure when we did the coils and stuff like that. And there's a lot of writings right on buildings that show that structure, that triangle structure. So whether it's represented in a 6-pointed star, the triangle, in this one with the plasmoids, it's all there. Tesla knew it. Tesla absolutely 100% knew it. He's like the godfather of all this stuff. I can tell you that right now. He knew every single part of this. And it shows in his work when you start reverse engineering it. It shows he not only knew where the cold side of energy was, he knew that it was there in the first place. That's why he did the hairpin circuit, because he knew exactly where to look for it. He knew that you cannot have the yin without the yang. You cannot have the positive side without a negative side. So what is it that he knew? He knew that the dielectric is on the outside and the positive. Then going inward is a magnetic field. But when it's in cold energy or negative energy, the dielectric's on the inside, your magnetic field's on the outside. What he found out is it defeated Lenz's law. No longer did he have to worry about any pushback when he ran the magnets around, because that field wouldn't be out there. You are coming in direct contact with a dielectric field that's being created in the magnetic wire as the magnets rotate. It's as simple as it is, guys. That's simple. So he knew there was an opposite side to it. Tesla's an absolute genius. So let me tell you this right now. When we look at the Wardenclyffe and all this, it matters when it goes into the ground, because you start creating frequencies that are in the right harmonic with the ground, you start messing with our Earth if you could put enough energy into it. Now, let's get on to another thing here. Tesla learned this, and we should learn it too. The energy you would have to put into a UFO in hot energy would be in the millions of volts. Here's what you don't understand. In cold energy, it's the lower amount of energy that goes in that produces more energy out of it. It's building a scalar field inside of a coil structure. That's why it takes less energy, but you create an energy well that's always full of energy, as long as you don't mess with the primary system. That's one of the most important parts about this. You can get a plasmoid at 12 to 20 volts instead of millions. Now, please understand this. That's negative energy. I have been showing on my channel for the last month or so everything to do with negative energy and how different it is. You don't have to convert it back to positive energy. There's no reason to. Pull the cold energy through the circuit. Ground it. Make it work. If you need to put in a floating ground, do it. It's not hard. As long as you make the ground wire the same size as the coil itself that you're building, you now have a floating ground. You can now do it. A lot of this technology that Tesla came up with, by the way, have dual uses. You really have to watch out what you're doing. So Everybody likes to talk about this stuff and make thrusters, and they have their own ideas, and it's like they're building one thing without the next critical part, and they can't see that they fit together. So let me explain it. When you're in cold energy, the only thing that interacts with it is silica, which means quartz. It means anything that has to do with the crystalline structure. That's what interacts with cold energy. Therefore, if you want propulsion out of it, you need to have both. So create a little coil, then you have your frequency, let it go into cold energy, interact it with the crystalline structure, get thrust. Do not go in there and try to narrow the inside a whole lot. You will create a different entity altogether. And we don't create weapons here. So just know what you're in, know what you're doing. You can create both, but one's used for good, and that's the one I would tell you how to build. The other one I won't. But they're both there, and you have to understand positive and negative energy in order to understand the thruster part of it. So interact with quartz. That's what you want to do. But you need a little bit of a winding there in order to get the frequency. You also need cold energy in it. Cold energy's the ones that interact with it. We're not making a watch here, guys. We're not tapping it on one side and letting it tap back. We're not making a watch. That's not what we're doing here. We're making cold energy. Cold energy interacts with the piezo, but you want to have a little moisture in there. Man, I took yesterday and I ran energy through a hot dog. I ran it through, yogurt, through a bunch of soda pop, pineapple juice, a whole bunch of stuff. And it goes to tell you that there may be minerals in there that amplify stuff, but if you don't have liquid water in there, you're done for. In some way or another, some moisture in there, you're done. That also means that when you have moisture around your craft, you may have an amplification on your hands. So make sure you isolate systems. It's important here, guys. So, question again, did Tesla know it? How do you create negative energy and not know it? The guy literally created the hairpin circuit, which means that everything he did after that, he could put it in water and have it interact with water, and he lit up fluorescence. He knew it. He had to have known it. I'm just a fat old man in my garage, and I figured it out, and I did it in less than a month. This guy knew it. This guy built this stuff. So everything that I've done is just an extension of what he's done. He would have known it right away. So when he goes to Colorado and he's putting the rod down the Tesla coil and he's putting it into the earth and he's hitting the water table and it's over a granite mine, what do you think he's going to hit in that quartz? It's compressed quartz in the granite. Therefore, the energy is going to be higher. Now, is there things out there that's more reactive to this energy in the crystal family? Yes, there is. There's several of them. And if you take a gold layer and you attach it to that crystal, then you start to get the thing to glow. Now, this is so cool, guys. Tesla knew it. Gold and quartz. How many times have you found it together? How many understood what you needed? Negative energy, gold, quartz, and water. It's a specific recipe. It's what you would find in Colorado. And it's exactly what Tesla knew you needed. You see, a lot of these cold energy devices out there that people don't understand, there's where your anti-gravity is. Let's face it. Putting 1,000,000 volts into a craft is absolutely the wrong way to go. Well, what are you looking to do? Electrocute yourself? Is that your goal? Because it's not mine. What are you going to have to do when you add a lot of frequency to that, or you add a resonance chamber to that? You're going to start creating microwaves. Is that what you're going to do? You're going to become the hot dog in the microwave? Because I sure don't. That's not going to work for me. If I can use cold energy, which is what they're using, and I can create anti-gravity, then guess what? I don't have to have all that energy in there. I now have a safe energy to use. You guys have seen me all do it. I'll take a bucket of sand and water and I'll put my hands into it. And it's completely safe to touch. That's the reason you use the cold side energy, but you got to find it. I showed you how to find it through a Tesla coil. It's not the only way to do it. Geometry coil is absolutely the way to do it because you're going to get a lot more. You're going to get transmutation. You're going to get frequency. You're going to get sound. You're going to get your octaves. All of it is going to be in there. Every part of that structure that I named and a few more, you're going to find in there. Now, do you know how to wind it? That's the hardest thing. Remember, you're building scalar fields. You're not building magnetic fields. When Gerald tells you there's no magnetic field in his coil, he's not lying to you. He's building a scalar field, but then he's stacking them. Stacking them like a high voltage multiplier. Every layer that he stacks on there is a multiple. 1 layer, 2 layer, 1,500 layers. How many multiples is that? You see, you got to start thinking that way. Now you're getting into some real energy, right? You go, wow, that's a pretty strong scalar field when you're done. Yeah. If you're going to create a plasmoid and ball energy, which Gerald has shown his coil to do, you're going to need it. So you're going to create it out of cold energy. And it's going to be a lot safer for the environment and for you. That's what Tesla knew. See, Tesla figured this out a long time ago. He gave the whole thing to car. When you look at the Neutron, it's a frequency generator. That's what it is. The rotation speed is the frequency. So based on the amount of magnetic value that each one of those transformers has that's on the outside, it gives you the rotational speed. Then that is completely the frequency of it. That frequency is transferred over to a capacitor. The capacitor now converts what is cold energy to hot energy again. You see, the distance between the neutron and the C-shaped capacitor is how we got to the cold energy. You cannot have that space without changing the energy type. That's why I told you about the Tesla hairpin circuit. Because when you do that, he's flipping the dielectric from the outside to the inside. Therefore, he's creating cold energy. Now he's got to convert it back. How do you convert it back? We all watched Bedini do it. Basically took a capacitor and put it in there and made hot voltage. It's not that hard. Then, as we know in Carr's device, in the center, there's a Tesla coil. Now we get to the understanding of this, but it's not just an average Tesla coil, it's a bipolar Tesla coil. Now, as you move the primary up and down, you get directed energy. Now you should start to understand this. That whole device doesn't need a lot of wires, guys. It's based on the frame. The frame is the ground. So when you start putting energy through everything, you'll start to understand it. The outside layering on it also has to have probably just aluminum is what they used. If we put a capacitor-like structure of aluminum, bismuth, aluminum, guess what? Now we got something really good because the outside energy, when you get to a certain height in our atmosphere, when you rotate something like that, it produces energy on the outside. If the energy goes into the capacitor to the inside, it gives you over unity in your machine while you're up in the air, which is exactly what Carr said it did. Now that you understand the science behind it, you're going to be able to build these things better. So, like I said, Tesla knew all of it. He gave it to Carr. Carr used it in his device. Now that you know about cold energy, you're going to be able to convert it. Now that you know you can create plasmoids out of cold energy, you're going to be able to do it. What I sincerely hope is this information is used for good. Bob said it would be on his show, so I would expect to hold him to that. And This information today pretty much gives it away of what's going on, guys. If you've been with us for the whole time, you already know it. And you already know that we have it. We already know that we figured it out a while back. And, maybe we just don't have a big enough voice to get it out there. Maybe we should start, giving a little bit more of the secret away to everyone else. But let me go through the pictures for those of you who missed it. I know a lot of people came in. I'll go through it one more time because I think it's interesting. So here was the Tesla coil right here, which is, we all know, Wardenclyffe Tower. And we could see where Bob had the overlay, and he put it in there and showed the plasmoids. And he shows the structure of rings. So now we're going to look at this. This is our scale of music and octaves. Now we're going to put them together. We're going to rotate it and put it together. Now we can start to see the similarities. The problem here is when Bob's looking at it, he has all the positive energy and none of the negative. The scale shows it with it both in there. When you overlay it, you can see all the similarities. We also see a few differences in there. And that has to do with, like I said, when you only have the hot side of energy to contend with, you don't understand the full picture. But now when you have the negative side in there, it starts to align itself correctly with the same picture that Bob was looking at. We could see the football in the center. When you look at the structures around the world, they put them in every church, guys. There's no hiding it. They put them in every single one. You just couldn't read the symbols. I can. I've read every one of them. Frequencies in there all the time. They tell you about plasmoids. They have this stuff right in their structure. Frequency here, like I said, that triangle structure is important. Again, we look at the top. 396 goes down to 639, then back to 963. 369. Tesla always told you. Didn't matter the order, guys, until you got to the frequency. That's when the order started to matter. All in hertz, not in kilohertz. The negative side of energy works on a low hertz level. The open air of our world that we live in on the surface is all in hot energy because the sun's rays hit the planet, turns it into hot energy. We live in that field. Therefore, the frequencies are higher. But as you go into the earth, it's an inverse. It is now lower into the hertz. There's no questioning that. That's the way it works. This, again, was the musical scale on the right. You see the two plasmoids on the left, very clear. You can see the ear in there. They're listening for sound. They're listening for structure in the sound, the octave, the frequency, everything. We have transmutation. Guys, there's no hiding a double helix when you see it. So the light in there is also important. Because of the way we're building it, it makes the light and transmutates it into matter. If we look at this right here, we obviously see again, we see the football shape, we see the plasmoids, we have the ear there, we know what it is. We know that on the left, we're dealing with the octave scale based on how big the frequency is right here on the left. Again, the triangles, it's all intertwined. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys. I thought it was important to get out there. I thought, let's just tell everybody. I mean, that's just the way it works, guys. We are building something that's transformational, and all of it fits together. You start to look at all these things going on, and you start to revert back. Who knew all of it? Who was the one guy that knew it? Why did he say that the future is his? Why did Tesla say that? Well, it's because he created something and he knew it was. He knew that you would have to stumble upon it to build the next level of technology. He knew it. There's no getting around it. That man was one of the smartest people ever walked the face of this earth. So, I'm sorry, he's the creator of energy. Born when it's lightning, knew how to use it. That's about all I got to say about it, man. Ben, how you doing, man? Ben? I'm getting lunch. Okay.
Oh yeah, I'll be right back. I'm still.
I can't hear you. That's my fault.
Oh, my bad. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you can. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'll be right back. I'm still getting back from work, trying to finish eating.
Okay.
I'm listening, and I'll jump in maybe like 10 minutes. I'll be ready.
You got it. All right, guys. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys. We have a lot of information there. Now, let's start looking at this cold energy a little different. I told you that anything that has moisture in it works. And depending on what the structure is in that is depending how far it goes out. So there's things that I don't tell you, and I'm going to just tell them to you now. The quartz itself is resonating in there when you put the frequency in there. If you get the correct frequency, there's a reason I use the frequencies that I do, because I can divide it by 2 until I get down to the correct frequency in hertz and know exactly where I'm at. And by doing that, you're going to find out that we're in a, what some would call a healing frequency. 800 and I believe it was 830 or 880 hertz is what it was, is what I was going for. And that's what I was hitting when I divided it back. So that's the frequency I use inside all my Tesla coils and everything else when I go to put the energy in the water. I'm trying to create a positive vibe, guys, when I put in the water there. Now, water clusters is what it does when you start putting this energy in there. I started looking at the soda yesterday and the bubbles as I put the energy into it. And the bubbles all came together all the time. Now, soda bubbles probably do that anyway. So, one way or the other, you can look at it. But water does cluster. Water also has memory. And if you learn something from Bedini, you understand this. When you create this stuff, you're going to create a ring. And I've pointed that out before. You're going to create a Tesla coil ring. Now, the other side of that is, how did Bedini say he's going to put the information into the circuit? Well, he goes 180 degrees out of phase and creates packets. So they look like this. Not like this. Like this. He's creating a packet to put all the information in. That's how you impart information onto the quartz. You're going to do it through the cold energy. You're going to put it through the packets. You're going to put it into the water. You're going to be able to create a structure inside the water. Then that's going to communicate with the quartz and stay in there. So you look at the Japanese legend and you go, you see that big rock? It's a, I guess, rectangle, and it's hanging over a bunch of water. And I guess the story goes, if you can understand what's going on here, you'll be able to revive whoever it was, right? Well, I don't know if that's true that he's going to revive, but I do understand it's going to communicate with the quartz if there's negative energy there. And you're going to be able to take care of that and find out. I'd love to, but it's an interesting story. Anyway, that's how you're going to do this, guys. There's a communication system that goes on here. You're going to be able to amplify things. You're going to be able to create cold energy. Now, you're not getting teleportation without it. Let me just clue you into that. As much as you want it with hot energy, you're not going to be able to get it. You're not going to be able to build it without cold energy. You're going to have to be able to build the cold energy to do it. You want to get anti-gravity? You got to use cold energy. Hutchison, what did he do? He basically took a plate of aluminum and saturated it with energy and was able to lift things off of it. Why? Because everything on there got saturated with the cold energy. Once they started to get to the same frequency, he was able to then use magnetics to push it off. You see, he used his environment in order to do it. When people do it in an open air environment, it's useless. You see, You would have to master the fact of putting it into the craft itself in order to get that. The fact that he didn't have a craft gave you a clue. He used the room as the environment. He created a north and a south pole in the environment. Then he gave it direction. You see, it's not that hard to figure out. Why? Well, when you use a crystal cell, what is this whole energy that connects to the crystal? Well, get ready to understand negative electricity. That's where you're going to have to go. Negative electricity saturation in aluminum has special properties. That's why aluminum is always used. Now, there are other things that have other special properties, like the honeycomb structure. You're going to have to look at that and determine on yourself how you want to do it. Now, is the honeycomb structure straight up and down? Or is it curved on one side? Is it like kind of like a megaphone, but in a honeycomb structure? You see, with that, you'll have direction. With straight up and down, you won't. So you have to build it a little differently. So there's more to this than, we all know right away. But I'll give you the clues. They're all there. He used every single one of them. He wanted to clean the water out of that, was it lake or river? And he knew cold energy would do it, and he knew he had to put it at the right frequencies to do it. You see him turning the dial, it wasn't random. You may think it's random. It's not random. He didn't have the coil structure to run it in the right way, so he had to change the dial in order to do it, go from one to the next to the next. So that's how he was shifting his energy. You see, you want to say, well, he's running millions and millions of volts. Well, he's got neighbors in an apartment complex. Yeah, there's stuff made to come off the tables and stuff, right? But if he put 1 million volts in there, guess what? It wouldn't be the tables you would have to worry about, okay? Everybody in there may not be able to have kids by the time he got done with all the electricity in there. So it should make you think again. What else could he use to get to something that has that high of an energy value at such a low energy? And that's negative electricity. That's why it's so important. What I've given you with the Tesla coil and show you how to build is exactly what you'll need to put the pieces together. The rest of it's right there. That's why it's so important. That's why it's all important. I may be playing with it with some different stuff. I'm trying to show you the capabilities of it. I'm trying to show you how it interacts with things, what the process is to get it to work. That's a big, big understanding here, guys. If you can understand the structure of this and how it changes things, then you'll start to understand everything else. It all comes together. It all works together. You can't have one without the other. You got to have the yin and the yang. That's how it works. So, when I don't want to say this, when you see things that look weird, just understand that there's a whole different thing going on there than what you're taught in school. They don't have it all right. You see, we discovered this stuff by building it. And then as you build it, I may not be putting it in the right terms, but I absolutely know how the energy works and how it flows and how it feels. You see, I do things based on the flow of energy. And if the energy flows in one direction, I know that there's a secondary direction going on. So I know I have to find it. A lot of people out there would just accept it because they don't know any better. And I think Gerald's whole, how do I want to say this? His whole transistor thing in there for cold energy circuit was the perfect example of this. When he ran it negative, everybody thought he was running positive. So they started applying all the positive rules to it. Once you realize he ran it through negative, all the rules changed. Right then and there. Stop, period, rule change immediately. Then you go back and look at all these things that are over unity. Well, you're not going to have over unity without multi-coils. You're not going to have it without an NPN. It will not come in PNP because you have to use a resistor. You'll have it in an NPN. Those two clues should give you all of your cold energy devices that created over Unity. You can see it plain as day. There won't be a resistor in sight. You'll see a bunch of little things that just wrap around like this in there. And you go, well, what do they do in there? Well, that's cold energy. Start to multiply the thing. Create natural diodes as you wind coils so that it stays in there, so that it doesn't come back out, so that you can build from one field to the next. Ben, did you make it back?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was just listening to what you're saying, and it's frustrating because I literally just read somebody's post earlier about asking about the Tesla hairpin circuit and asking specifically any users if they know if we can explain any what's going on there using conventional science. And then, of course, some, like graduate, engineer graduate chimes in. He's like, yeah, we can explain all that. And he goes on and explains like none of what Tesla wanted us to understand. And I'm just like, oh my God.
They all think that spark gap plays an important role. It doesn't. It was because his voltage was so high, he had to disperse some of the energy.
Yeah, wasn't it just like a jerry-rigged way of tuning it at the last minute or something?
Well, Mike uses it. It's like a switch. It's basically creating another switch in the system. But that wasn't
it's not creating what's. Yeah, that's not the key aspect of what's going on to focus on. The spark gap was not what was creating the unusual phenomenon, right?
Right, because here's the problem. You have to look at the type of capacitor Tesla used versus what we use. And it's a dead giveaway of what's going on.
Yeah, the micro components we had, he had to build all of his components by hand, right?
But it's more than that, Ben. We construct our capacitors different than you would use an air capacitor.
So how did he construct his capacitors?
So it was basically just a C shape, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And another C shape. And then as you moved it up and down, it created capacitance between those two fields, right?
So you could adjust the capacitance by moving it?
Yes, but it had a side effect when you did it. You see, like I said, the dielectric field on the outside is where all of that magnetic field is. So what we would consider the magnetic field, this is really the dielectric field.
The hot energy.
Yeah, and it would push against the other dielectric field, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens? Well, the one with the energy that's flowing will force the one with the energy receiving to be able to push that dielectric to the inside while leaving the other one, which is the magnetic, on the outside. You see, it made it go reverse. So he changed the energy from hot to cold just right there.
And the contributing factor was maybe the shape and the configuration of those two C's.
It's as simple as this. In order to push one field that's on the outside to the inside, it's like pushing it with force. You are pinning it in and pushing it with force. Mm-hmm. Now you're forcing it to go in a different direction. Once it's in there, the other field traps it in, and it can't get out.
You're shaping that with the okay. That makes sense.
When I show you in experiments that, I could go over here and switch it to hot energy, right? And how do I know how to do that? Well, all I have to do is change the distance of the rod down the center of my Tesla coil to the outside of my Tesla coil. If I put a bigger rod in there, I can change it to hot energy.
So that's analogous to adjusting that Tesla type capacitor.
It's the same thing. That's right there. That's where the magic happens. You see, the other portion of that hairpin circuit was the paddles, and the paddles have nothing to do with everything else.
So we have all the pieces, but the fact that he was probably putting something like you down the throat of his Tesla coil at some point, we don't know any of that publicly. At least if that was available at some point, it isn't now.
Well, that's why you have to understand how the energy flows. So it's no surprise when people go over there and they take their hot Tesla coil and have all the sparks and they they put in the spark gap, and then they got it to go cold. Well, if you know how to convert it to cold, you should be able to convert it to hot energy. The fact that I've done both should show you how it's being done. That's the key. And that was the only key you needed to know. Once you could convert from one to the next, you had it. It was right there. You didn't need to, look at the other stuff. The other stuff is you got a high voltage Tesla coil with a spark gap circuit. Well, what if you don't have a spark gap in the original part of the circuit? Because he didn't have solid state like we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
he was severely limited compared to the, technology we have available. We could just buy these micro components and, integrated circuits and all that. And
yeah, the biggest thing was how that capacitor is built, because we don't build them like that. We do not build them like that. Let me clue you in. The number one failure is that capacitor. When you build it correctly, the energy works exactly like it should. Goes to the cold side, goes into water, lights up fluorescence. It goes in contact with silica, and it amplifies. Everything he did. So
that makes me wonder a lot about some of the things they say about Tesla regarding his experiments and what people just don't understand regarding the mainstream consensus. He was working with this cosmic energy. He said so. In the one audio recording we have left of Tesla's voice, he says, eventually we're going to be using the cosmic energy, the cosmic radiation. And it's like the one frustrating aspect that like engineers who graduate from school don't really understand, because they don't teach them. And then they think like, oh, I know everything, and if it wasn't taught to me, it's not legit, and it's just nonsense. So
let me. You said nuclear energy, right?
Yeah.
And the cosmic
radiant energy. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hold on. Let's just go with this, because that's what a lot of people think the negative energy is a nuclear energy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's clarify this and let's understand this. You remember my rodent coil when they lit it up and then pulled the wire out and it was still running?
Right. It had that residual energy still in it.
So it's a half-life.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think, well, that's kind of like a nuclear half-life, right? There's still energy in there for a certain amount of time. Well, the amount of time is dependent on how cold it was in the center of the vortex versus the outside of the coil.
So its capacitance is dependent on like how much cold energy was going through it?
It's dependent on the hot and cold. That's why I call it cold energy. So just hold on. Let's just understand this. You can call it negative. You can call it cold. It makes things colder in how they run through the circuit. It goes below room temperature. When you get below room temperature, then the heat transitions to the cold. So now if the hot's on the outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the cold's on the inside, now you're starting to get a flow direction. Do you understand?
Right.
Now let's go look at the direction of the rodent coil. Its flow naturally is like this, right? It's spiraling around the coil and back in.
Right. It's got the same motion, only it's kind of spiraling at the same time. But it's got the same flow.
Not the same motion. One is taking the hot side to the cold, which goes in like a little donut. You could place little donuts all around it, and that's exactly how the hot and cold work. Now, if I twist it and put it in, right, now I'm flowing in a certain direction.
Right, you're going on the y-axis versus the x-axis. And then, okay, I see what you're saying. But you still have like two converging paths that kind of like meet at a single point.
No, they don't meet.
No,
they just one flows in a donut, and they flow all the way around, just like the rodent coil. So little donuts around each part, right?
So
now,
that other field would probably be created if I had some kind of like pickup wrapped like helically maybe around.
Don't try to engineer it, Ben. Just listen to the flow of energy is what I'm telling you. Okay? This is a mistake everybody makes. Just listen to the flow I'm telling you. One flows circular to the coil as it's a donut, right? You got that one?
Mhm.
Now the next one flows at an angle and in. Now, why are both of them important? Because in order to create a tornado on the top and bottom, you must have those fields in that exact order.
Oh, so to create two counter-rotating vortexes, you need both of those fields? You're saying and interacting in a specific...
In a
Okay.
specific way. Now,
Okay.
the only way to get the center colder is to have both of those fields.
So the direction, you're saying one's the direction of hot energy and one's the direction of cold energy, the path or the
It's
flow.
bringing the hot energy from the outside
Mhm.
back to the center and getting it colder. So
Mm.
why do you think it's getting colder in the center?
I always thought that when you had like two magnetic fields pinching and you create kind of like that 0 point, it opens up the vacuum. That's how I envision it, though, at least. I could be wrong.
Okay, the only way to get the center colder is the vortex has to form,
Mhm.
and it has to get down to the 0 point. Okay?
So you can
If
have
that-
a 0 point with just one vortex.
With just one, yeah, you
Okay.
can. But in this case, we're looking at the rodent coil, which would have two. You'd have the top, then you would have the bottom, an opposite direction, right?
Mhm.
So one pulls in, the other one pushes out. It goes in the direction. Okay?
I see. Okay, and it just naturally pushes that hot energy out and pulls the cold energy in.
One goes in the direction around, the other one twists the vortex. Okay? In order for that tornado to form on the top and the bottom.
See,
That's
that
the-
makes sense. That makes sense because you can't. No, the whole mechanism of the tornado. I don't know. When I'm picturing it in my head, having both of those mechanisms working together rather than just having it twirling around, it seems like it might give it more power or sustainability. Like it just like in the simulation in my head, like running the numbers. So, but that all makes sense though. That helps me understand the rodent coil at least a little bit.
So let's understand why it gets colder.
Mhm.
You have just added motion in this direction, just like
So
this.
like a circular motion, yeah.
But as you create motion, the energy cools off in that motion. Right? Now it's going to get colder in the inside than it is on the outside.
Like a centrifugal force.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, you have a very small hole in the center. So now what is it doing? It forces all of it, instead of going out like this, and hey, we got plenty of room to move.
Pushes it right up against each other.
Right. So now you can start to amplify the cold through the center. That's the understanding. You want to control heat and cold in your circuit, you're going to have to build your coil to do that. Now, this is just flow of the energy through the rodent coil when I put the cold energy into it. So it kind of gives you an idea. What am I doing? I am dropping the center of that coil below room temperature. So say if it's 70 degrees in the room, I put the energy at 68 degrees in the center of that coil. Now what happens? The energy will stay flowing until the center reaches the same temperature as the outside of the coil, which is room temperature.
That makes sense. And it's kind of like whistling, like you don't get any sound with your lips too far apart, but when you put them together just right, you get some kind of sound.
Yeah, that was loud.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I get it though. No, I mean, think about it. It's all in those fields, and if you create the fields correctly and you understand the flow, then it becomes very easy to do this. So now that you understand that there's hot and cold involved, now you understand that there's a flow of energy and a reason for that flow. once you have that flow, the only way to stop it is to bring the center back up to room temperature. Otherwise, it'll keep putting that energy through it. So
I know Michelle was asking about scalar fields because he's having some trouble trying to, make one with his new coil. I told him to contact you because you were talking on our episode of the session. You had some really good information about, like the prerequisites for creating a scalar field. But I myself, I don't know like what a scalar field is technically. Like I'm not too keen on those details. Is that what Tesla was describing as cosmic radiation or cosmic energy, or was it just like the negative energy that he was?
You could say all of the above.
All the above. So okay, so it's all synonymous.
Think about this: the Earth is hot necessarily on the outside, right? Just like the sun, it's hot. You get a heat signature, but everything else is cold. Does that make any sense to you? The energy out there is still energy. It's just
that
cold.
Makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
They're not saying that there's no energy. That's the thing. It's filled with energy. They don't know how to tap into it. There's plenty of cold energy out there. So when you start building this kind of stuff in space, get ready for some amplification because you already have energy out there.
And it's not, I can imagine like maybe there's like less interference from different various things. I don't know if that would affect anything, but
okay. So let's get
like
in.
Playing with an open field, with less obstructions, I guess.
Okay, let's get into that a little bit. Air is interference. So
see, that makes sense. That was my intuition. I was like, that's gotta, it's gotta be some kind of variable there.
It's the viscosity. So it doesn't matter if it's air or water, it's the viscosity of it. And that's your interference. So how do you think a UFO goes from air to water? It just understands the interference level. And it knows it better than us. And that's about as simple as it gets. So if you understand that, then it starts to make sense why you can take two plates and put them so close together and get more energy, right?
Oh, the Kashmir effect?
You're removing the interference from it.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're removing all what's the word I'm looking for? The obstruction or the material that's in your path.
Some frequencies cannot form in that area. That means that certain things that use that frequency are now removed from that area.
So does it like create like a negated like area where basically it's kind of like a what would you call it? Like maybe like a mini Faraday cage in there?
So, not like a mini Faraday cage. Just think of it like this. If I don't want to put it, when I put pressure on it, okay, only certain things in that area can stay in that pressure. The rest move out, and they cannot exist in that pressure. Now,
right.
The way we do it is with frequency. There's certain frequencies that cannot form in that distance. Okay, that's what you got to know.
And frequency is just, like pressure over time or movement over time. So
there you go.
That all makes sense. Okay.
So now you have an understanding. So when you get the plates correct, you can understand why an air capacitor would change things. But when you put in a center field to it, it's about the point of saturation.
And that's why he made it adjustable. That makes sense. Wow.
You have to get the greatest amount of energy without crossing the field. You see, what he's creating in there, just think about it. What it is, the one problem with the Kashmir effect?
I don't know.
You create a laser if you do it wrong. If you do not coat your plate, you will create a laser out of that.
Is that something to do with like the light reflecting or refracting from the material? It
just creates a laser. It takes out all the other frequencies in there and creates a laser. Now, what if you have a plate in the center of saturation? So, remember what we said about Tesla's hairpin circuit? You're forcing everything from the hot energy side into this center plate to make it cold energy. Think about that.
Yeah, you're moving the heat.
Yeah, I'm not just moving the heat. I'm creating with the capacitance of those upper and lower plates and, like, say, my gravity flare, right? Once I put those two close together to the center, I am now creating cold energy in the center. You see the Casimir effect, you put something in the center of it, you can create cold energy out of it. So that's the same process going on here in those plates. You're putting cold energy in from the Tesla coil. Now you're multiplying it with the Casimir effect to the center plate. You see, you have to have an amplification in there. That's the only way to amplify it.
Well,
That's
I guess
why,
that makes sense, though.
but it explains the result. So when the field in the center from the testicle grows out, it gets in contact with the upper and bottom disc. Then it starts to spark over the energy on top of it because it has too much pressure in it. Your whole goal is get it as high as you can in there without making that energy go off in here and using that hot voltage. Any sparks is a ruined experiment. It's wasted energy.
So there's a threshold you're paying attention to there.
So what I'm saying is, not only are you putting stuff in this closet, right? I'm going to pack the sides of this closet, okay? And I'm going to force it in there, okay? I stuffed it full. Now I'm going to force it in there and put pressure on it, right? Now, as I put pressure on it, what happens? My magnetic field comes out of it and goes to the outside.
Yeah, because there's always a reaction. Okay, that makes sense. So it's pushing out while you're pushing in.
Now I have a field bubble.
That makes sense. Okay, that's a great analogy, by the way. I like that. That helps clear it up. Because I'm a pack rat sometimes, so I understand packing it
back in the closet, huh?
Trying to hope to God your guest doesn't open the closet because they might get buried in something.
Oh man, that's great. Yeah, no, it's pretty interesting. I told you in that interview, man, those things are the greatest teachers in the world. If you know how to listen, if you don't try to interject with all your ideas before you watch and see what it does.
So for anyone who doesn't or isn't aware, we do have Nathan's episode of The Sesh out on my channel for members, and it will go live for public. We'll have the official public premiere on our Free Energy Fridays before the podcast.
Nice.
So, but for the members, if you're interested in watching that, you can check that out now.
Are you going to put it
after our podcast? But yeah.
Are you going to put it out in 1080p?
I think it is. It was if you caught it right after I uploaded it, it might not have had the full 8. Yeah, so it goes in stages. And that's what sucks. Because sometimes I'll do a premiere and I'll miscalculate like how long it's going to take it to process. And then everybody's watching a 360 like resolution and it's crappy and blurry.
No. Yeah, I thought it was a great dialogue between you and I and stuff like that.
Oh,
so.
It was awesome. It was we had lots of fun, guys. It was about an hour long and we go over a lot of stuff regarding Nathan's work, and we just have a lot of fun, and it was a great conversation.
So, hey, Joe said sorry I didn't get to the comments yet, guys. Joe wants to be on the sesh.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking for the next guest member. We'll do an episode with Joe, and then I'm also going to reach out to Mike Does because I wanted to get him back on and do an interview with him as well. But anybody else from the team, reach out to me if you're interested in coming on the session and having a session.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Cashing it out. Yeah.
You'll have to play a little bit of it at some point, Ben, so that everybody kind of knows what it is and they can.
I mean, you're free to do whatever you want with it. If you wanted to play a clip or, play a little bit, or if you had a specific moment that you wanted to show, I'm game. I don't care.
we'll do like 10 minutes towards the end, and we'll just we'll put
Give
it
a
in there for
preview.
everybody. Yeah,
That'd be
that
nice.
way everybody can go and watch it when it comes out, and they'll be pretty happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And the music I use, by the way, from now on are all like made with the AI Udio, and I do that so you can actually, if you wanted to, you can do this. You know, and not have to worry about the music that I use. So before there was a problem where like I had like this licensed music that you guys can't show my clip in because it might get you flagged. I'm not having that no more, you know.
Good.
So yeah, so I kind of tweaked my production method, and we'll have less problems there.
So I wanted to answer a question I don't think people are getting at yet, but they kind of hitting around to it. Why would I not just put a magnetic field on the outside? It would be a fair question. And it has to do with how you build things. And some fields you have to put pressure on to create in order for them to come out right. You cannot just put the pieces together because it says it's there. You have to be able to create the field the correct way. So, because you're not just getting that single effect. So you go, okay, well, magnetic field, that's pretty easy. I can put a magnetic field around it. But it's not the case here. So you won't get the cold.
Think about the shape, right?
Right. Well, you're not going to get the cold energy effect.
Yeah.
So you already negated this whole thing. Right. And then if you do put the energy there, you didn't amplify it. You 100% failed because you failed to realize the process, and you needed the amplification in order to build the field bubble strong enough of that field.
Yeah, and instead of like cranking up the Tesla coil, you kind of like throttle it a little bit, and then have the amplifier. You have all these components that kind of fall into place. But like you said, if you ignore the first part, then, you're not really going to get anywhere, are you?
A lot of these things, when they build these things, they have 3 to 4 effects to each one. That's why you have to meticulously go through them. You can't just go, well, I know copper, I can put it in there and I can amplify this effect. Or I can use bismuth here and I can amplify this effect. Well, what did you lose in the process? Well, you lost the other 3 effects that you needed out of it. And then you're just like, well, it doesn't work. This is a piece of junk. And then you move on and you're like, well, you didn't take the time to understand it properly, so you built it wrong, and now you have the wrong thing. So when people try to explain, hey, there's just this effect and that's it. Well, no. That's not how it works. Slow down. Understand the process involved and why you're doing it. So, yeah, I had some unfortunate burning going on in my garage when I put the wrong effect into stuff, and it kind of pushes energy in one direction. So, you get my meaning. Yeah, you got to be real careful.
Electrons act as channels for transfer through the air. Flight of not water. You need a negative shell, His Highness says.
I don't know which one you're reading, Ben. Put it up on the screen.
Oh, yeah, let me put it up there for you. So His Highness says you need a negative shell.
In the inside. So, how do I say this? We did the experiment about the fields. So let me just go through this real quick. On the gravity flyer, if you simply connect static electricity or 2 flybacks in series with a ZVS, and then connect it to the top and bottom plate. Positive to the top, negative to the bottom. Then you collect the Tesla coil with the rod down the center to the center plate. You're going to get a field that holds in the static. Say I want to reverse that experiment. I now want to take a wire and put it from the top of the disc all the way through my Tesla coil and to the bottom disc. And then I want to put the static electricity on the center disc. What does it do? The 2 field bubbles go from the disc and they merge into one, and they start creating a bubble that goes out like this, right? What is that doing? It's taking the static electricity that's out here on the other side of it, and it's forcing it out. Now, it has to do with the viscosity of things. So, now, when I push that, remember I started having my computer go off all the time when I ran my gravity flyer?
Yeah, it was like binging and pinging and making weird noises.
You can shoot it straight across the room like an EMP, and it starts wiping things out. But you can control it. Now, here's the thing. It's making your computer do a specific thing. It's telling you you have a new USB thing plugged into the port, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would it tell me that? It starts to change all of your screens on your computer. So it's like on YouTube, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, it's opening Facebook.
Is that because it's adding wireless electricity in the environment? And I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to guess here.
I'm messing with your circuits is what it's doing. So it's adding energy to your, how do I say it? Not your collector. It's not your emitter. It's the other one.
The base?
The base. It's adding energy to the base. Therefore, it's saturating the field more. Therefore, it's turning on your transistors in different ways. So,
it's screwing with the trans.
So when you hear the story, well, there was a UFO that came over and went over our building, and we had our nuclear missile in there, and it started changing our circuits in there and started changing the codes, right?
Right.
Telling you right now that's what it was doing.
Huh. That's insane.
So please understand the effects here. You are creating something that will change your computer. If you stop and listen and look at what it's doing, you'll start to understand the energy. You see, if you don't, you just say my computer's going off, that's not going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
But start to observe the situation, you'll start to see what's going on.
Right. For the size of Tesla coil that you were using, what was your safe radius? Did you calculate that? Like, what was the radius where that wouldn't happen? Like, how far did
anything within 20 feet it would hit?
20? Wow.
So
yeah, that's a pretty big radius.
I would have to keep it. If I went to, how do I say this? If I went to 40, it would destroy my computer. It's just 40 volts. That's it. That's all it would take.
Crazy.
Now, I could go down to 10 volts and operate it in the same room. But if you put it the opposite way with the Tesla coil to the plates, it would still ding your computer. It would tell you all day long that there's a USB port plugged in somewhere. You know what I mean? And it won't change the pages on your computer. Now, when you go up in voltage, you'll start changing the pages.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So it runs like it has a mind of its own.
Yeah. And then you said it gets worse the more you up the hot energy, the voltage, positive voltage.
So just understand this, guys, in the power source that I have. Somebody's asking about the amps. Well, it's always 2 volts for every 10 volts for every 10 volts, 2 amps. That's on an average. I do not connect a meter to it all the time. I went and looked at it in between each 10 volt cycle and looked at the numbers. In my 40 volts, I get 8 amps. So it goes up to 50 volts, which means it goes to 10 amps, which is the same scale that the manufacturer says is on there. So I verified it, and that's what it does. So, yeah, this energy is pretty wild, man. They always talk about static electricity. Well, static electricity is one step away from scalar. So if you're not careful, you'll create static electricity and have problems.
See, that was my next question. How static electricity relates to scalar fields. If they did at all. I didn't honestly know, but you said static electricity is the precursor to scalar fields. So that makes a lot of sense.
So remember, I do high voltage too, right? So when you create the high voltage effect, and this is why a lot of Egyptian stuff have snakes in it that hiss, put them close together, they hiss, then they start creating purple plasma. Depending on the amps, the color changes. So you're creating light right there. Just understand this. You're creating light. You're going to create white in there. You're going to create pink first and white. Now, when you get them pulled out further, it creates an energy between them, but it's not allowing the energy to be used. That's scalar. A standing energy field. Not a wave, it's a field.
It's a field, but it's standing still. It's not in motion.
standing still.
Wow. So that makes sense why we see though like a lot of depictions in ancient Egypt in their hieroglyphics, or not in the hieroglyphics, but in their paintings and stuff. We see like snakes. So I guess that's the only like animal or way they can physically describe that hiss, because they can, a snake
What?
obviously makes a hiss, and anybody can relate that to a
As
snake.
soon as you see the snake, you get an energy ball. I mean, what are they trying to tell you there? As soon as you create plasma, you're getting a plasma ball. As soon as you hear the hiss, so think about it. You create the hiss, you get plasma. The one thing they represent in there is the ball, which is plasma.
And they couldn't exactly write a plasma, draw a plasma ball, but drawing a snake, people will later down the line make the connection, that's kind of brilliant if you ask me. And then, you take that one step further, and the pyramids, the dimensions in them and their construction, everything about them relating to symbology and how we can actually, utilize advanced technology. So I think that's going to be really important because, maybe not using the Egyptian pyramids themselves, but trying to replicate what they could do, on a smaller scale would be really interesting, I think, and it would be of tremendous help to a lot of people who need energy.
So they also represent sometimes in there the energy. If they want to put a Tesla ring in there, the snake's tail will go bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it gets to the head.
Oh, that's cool. No, because this all makes sense. Why would they draw a snake like perfect in anatomy in one depiction, and over here it's kind of like all lopsided and like not obviously looking like a real snake. So it's all like intentional, they're gonna spend all that time making those pyramids, which we can't really construct today. Everything they draw is going to be intentional too, you can imagine, right? So that's what I think. That's what I believe.
Well, okay, also think of it this way. Oh, how do I want to say this? You know the Aken, the Egyptian cross?
Oh, yeah, the Ankh.
Okay, so please understand that's a symbol for resonance. And there's a reason why it's a symbol for resonance. If you put a mirror halfway through it, two-sided mirror, what are you going to find? Well, the idea of Egyptian is mirror everything and then create it in 3 dimensions. So when you look at it and you have the circle on the top and the cross, okay, but then it looks like a vortex on the bottom, right?
Right.
So what happens when you take that and you create a second one, flip it, now you have the round on the bottom, the round on the top, the bar in between, and a vortex coming out the top and bottom. We just discussed this in the rodent coil.
Yeah, that's wow. You just blew my mind. Absolutely blew my, because Gerald mentioned that the Ankh was a symbol of resonance. And I know you guys discussed it before, but I never really understood the connection there, other than that, that's an interesting tidbit. So that makes sense though. You get the reflection and that makes the shape that we see, and then that Bob Grenier describes in some of his research videos. And wow, that really blew my mind.
So let's go a little further. Those little towers that you see, people go, "Oh man, those are Tesla coils." Well,
what are they? The obelisks?
Okay, not just the regular obelisks like this, but the ones with the levels, and they have little spaces in between.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they look a little bit more involved.
So everybody says they're Tesla coils, right? So check this out. They're only a Tesla coil if you build them like Sean builds Tesla coils, because they're built as an AC flyback. That's what it looks like. When you start winding it, it looks like an AC flyback. You have the layer, the winding, the layer, the winding, the layer.
So do you think at one point they had some kind of maybe copper wire or something wound around them?
They use gold.
Oh, they just use this. Oh, because that would operated
silver, gold. They could use copper if they wanted to.
But the cold electricity, man, we've seen it. It can use the ground as a conductor. It can use the air as a conductor. It's pretty versatile in that respect.
With negative energy, you can use granite.
Yeah.
Let me put that out there. With negative electricity, you can get it wet, and the granite pulls it in like a wick, and then you can put energy right into it. And I can put a wire to it, and it'll start sparking.
Yeah. So I guess that solves the question to all the skeptics though, like, oh, how are they gonna, utilize an obelisk or whatever? Well, if it's utilizing cold electricity, it doesn't operate in the same way.
Well, think of it this way. They put right next to it every time the snake and the unk right next to it. So resonating, high voltage hiss next to an AC flyback. How
They put it
hard?
all right. Yeah, they put it all right there, huh?
Yeah, how hard is it?
I mean, with how much things get obscured in academia, it's hard to move past all the BS, but this is groundbreaking. And
hold
I
on.
think
It gets better. How do you know to verify it? Because every time that they put the unk right there, they put bees. Bees are attracted to resonance.
that's
If
right.
I put resonance in a plant grows. So they put a plant right next to it.
Mhm.
Oftentimes you'll have a bee on one side, a plant on the other, then you'll have the unk right in the center. They're telling you what's going on. Then you go, okay, I go even a step further. You'll sometimes see a bowl underneath. Now, a bowl represents half of a frequency chamber. You say, well, we see people all the time, man. They take their fingers, they lick it, there's water in the bowl, and they start running their finger around it, right? Starts to make sound.
Yeah, the singing bowls.
It's resonating.
Whatever they're called.
And you're going, okay, well, how does that make sense to anything else? Well, if there's a bowl and you're resonating it and they show you the flower of life right on it, hey, guess what? Maybe you should pay attention. Resonance is the key to all of it, and that's exactly what Tesla did.
Well, I think we're starting to discover that the ancients had a lot more knowledge than most of us give them credit for. But I like I was trying to, wrap my head around before is like, I think, some people are starting to become aware that, there's more to it than what they're telling us, regarding the ancient Egyptian story and how the pyramids, like what they were used for, what they were constructed for. They weren't a tomb, obviously. I'm gonna tell you that straight up. I'm gonna tell you that right now. They were not a tomb. You look inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, and you can barely navigate in there. It wasn't obviously made to be traversed through. It was a machine.
Yeah.
They would be laughing at us for taking tours in it right now.
So, just so you know, there's only one that has a tomb in it, and that's that one that has the wood pillars in it. That's the only one that's an actual probably tomb. The other ones, yeah, you're right. There's no tomb in there.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
the Grand Gallery, they call it the Grand Gallery. It's just a what would you call it? Like a siphoning for some kind of gas, like it's not meant to be walked up. They had to build stairs so you can climb up it. It wasn't meant to be.
Okay, hold on. It's a resonating chamber. Think about it this way. You take a bowl, it's round, right? I can't make my hands round, but maybe, whatever. It's round, okay? You put your finger on top, you're making resonance, okay? But now, when I change the distance as you have frequency and energy and sound in a chamber, for every time I change down smaller, I'm changing the distance in order for that resonance to go. Now I'm changing the frequency and octave as I go up. I bet you every single one of those distances correlates with an octave.
I bet you're right. Yeah, it's just like, it's insane how they correlate these, parts of the pyramid with like I was saying, like the Grand Gallery. It's very misleading. Like if I was to not know anything about the pyramid and they told me, oh, you're going to go see the Grand Gallery now, oh, that's great. I'm going to go see a Grand Gallery. No, it's a little tiny, narrow as heck, pathway that's not really, you can barely get up it. It's like, what? Why would you name this the Grand Gallery? It's very misleading. I don't know if it was intentional, but
So let's go even further. Okay. We want to break down elements, just like Bernie does, right? You can use 5 volts of electricity to do it. Okay. So what would we do instead? Well, we can use this energy here in order to break down elements. Now we can transmute them. That's why you use the cold energy. You're creating transmutation in there. That's why Gerald was telling you in the Red Pyramid, they were transmutating elements. So what does it also do? It breaks hydrogen away from oxygen in water. Now, they always say on there was hydrogen in there. Well, there was. They didn't pour something down the tubes. It naturally created because you have an aquifer underneath the pyramid, and granite sucks up water into it like a candle wick. You're going to right then and there take one element away and create something else. It's a transmutation. Now, what did they use it for? I have no idea. I don't know why they did it. Maybe it had to do with something else, but they did it.
Yeah, they might have had a completely different use than what we could, be using it for today. But
but let's swing it back to Tesla. If you went to the pyramids and understood this, right? And you looked at it the same way I explained it, then he started building everything. Well, guess what he's going to build it to act like? It's not what you see. He's not going to build that exact same thing. He's going to correlate it to what he is doing and then build something based on that mimics what he sees there.
Yeah. Well, I know Tesla studied the Sanskrit text too, and the ancient, Indian texts. They all have the same information. Like all of these ancient texts, they all point to the same kind of like energy. If you kind of like understand how to, because they, obviously they had a different, not just a different language in those times, but probably a different way of communicating that language too. Like they might have had a vastly different way of communicating than just a different language. But at any rate, they left hints for us. There's hints everywhere, and you and a lot of others on the team have been doing your like damnedest to decrypt those for us. So it's really cool to see like all these ancient secrets actually, like, for the longest time I was like, what did the ancient Egyptians know that we didn't? Like what secrets did they hold? And now we're starting to like kind of like see, through Tesla's work and your work, uncovering and reverse engineering Tesla's work, like those mysteries.
Well, because we're seeing both sides of it, Ben. We're not closed-minded and only seeing the hot side of energy. We're seeing the cold side.
Exactly. So yeah.
Now it's opened your eyes to everything that's a possibility that it can do. Now you're starting to see, oh my God, if this is true and we can create the other side, it completely changes everything. The light bulb in the pyramid or wherever it was, right? And they said it was on. The guy walked over to it and touched it, and it turned off, and he couldn't get it to turn back on again. Mm-hmm. Well, when you leave water inside of granite and it sits over time, what happens is the energy itself will start to grow. It'll start to have, how do I want to say it? It'll start showing as conductive. It'll go and go and go until the energy builds up until it turns into energy. Therefore, it would turn on the light. Just like the cold electricity, when I put my hand in the water, you see the light dim? It's the exact same effect because my body took on the energy. Whether that's going through to the ground or into you, you decide, but they took it away from that device. So now the light turns off and you can't turn it back on because you cannot let that energy build over time the same way to turn it back on.
Well, that makes sense. Excuse me. Well, hold on. Let me see, because we had a couple of comments in the chat. I wanted to.
Get to them. Absolutely.
Let's see.
Sorry.
And Mike says, "Can you see the smoke coming off Nate's ears?" That says brain overloading. Hey, my mind has already exploded twice on this show tonight alone. So you might see my brain dripping from my ears if I turn on my camera.
Yeah, well,
Actually, well, I will turn it on in a little bit when I plug it in. I'm going to show you guys what I've been working on, but that's later before we end things. Eighth Sinner says in a meditation sized pyramid, it might be different, but the shells of my Oregonite are in limestone to reduce the static boundary effect, and it makes a huge difference.
that's cool.
Yeah, interesting.
Who said that?
Eighth Sinner.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check out his channel then.
I'm wondering, is it the same? It's not the same guy who makes the Oregonite, maybe rodent coil.
No.
I've been meaning to grab one of those. They're nice. They're a little pricey, but they're worth it, man. They're a piece of work, a piece of artwork, man. I gotta give him a shout out.
Yeah. So let's go a little further since we're already getting here, and let's understand this. So,
oh, Ian's here. Hey, what's going on, Ian?
Yeah, what's up, Ian? Yeah, Ian's working hard, man, on those coils and stuff. And I sent him a picture. I don't know if he's looked at it yet, but I think I found a way to convert that over to hot energy and get it to where he wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll have to go over it with him and see what he thinks. But what I'm looking at is I want to create natural diodes in the winding of the energy well. And there's a couple ways to do it. And I think if we do it right, we'll be able to build the fields. Now, I can't.
So what do you mean by natural diode? Like a component-free diode?
So a diode is simply just
directing.
So hold on, just let me make it simple for you. If I took a razor blade and I put a torch to one side and left the other side normal, right? It would act as a one-way diode. It would reduce the amount of energy going through one side, right?
Yeah, it would.
Okay, so they used to make old radios like that when they're in the foxhole. So think of it like that. So in some way, I need to stop the field, and that's all it is. I just need to stop the field from being as strong on one side as it is the other. So I'm going to have to basket weave wire in order to stop the flow. So it'll go through, right, and get to the next level, but it can't push back through it. That making sense to you?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Sorry, I was reading a comment. Eighth Sinner just said, "No benefaction, I'm not him." So it's not the guy. He said he does his own work though. I'll have to check it out. If you got a YouTube channel, I'll check it out. If it's a different than your name, post you can't post a link because you're not a mod. Well, yeah, I guess put a space in there. You can post a link if you put a space in there.
You guys can figure that out later.
Yeah.
So please understand this. In order to get the fields to multiply, you have to be able to diode it. So we're just making a high voltage multiplier, okay? But we're going to do it with scalar. So I need to diode it in order for the energy to build. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if you create all the same fields going through it, I don't know that you're going to get the multiplication you need. So if I create 10 fields in the same exact amount of energy, I may end up with just the same amount of energy at the end. Because I'm not saturating with anything different, but if I can create in each one a higher amount of energy, by the time I get to one side of it, I'm going to get a massive amount. You following all that, Ben?
Somewhat. It's a little bit over my head, but I'm starting to understand a little bit more.
So voltage multiplier is a capacitor, right, on each side. You have a diode that goes here one way to that part of the capacitor. Then it takes the part of the capacitor here on the top and puts it over to this side. Okay. Therefore, it can no longer, it stays at one energy here, but when it hits the capacitor up here, it multiplies. Then it gets to the next one, it multiplies again because they're going like this, right? All the way up.
Oh, like
Now,
a crisscross. Okay.
so in the beginning, you start out with a spark about this big. In the end, your spark is this big.
So that's so that's how you amplify it.
There you go. We're
Okay.
stacking one on top of the other with diodes.
That makes sense. Okay, so that, wow.
The
I didn't realize it was
capacitance
that
is
easy.
in the field. That's it. And because we're not using the energy, please understand this, it builds as capacitance. That's one of the key things. People always talk about plasma. Oh, it's plasma everywhere. We got plasma. Plasma coming out. You know what? Well, the problem with plasma is you're using energy. You're wasting it.
Yeah, the fact that you created the plasma, you've already wasted the energy, the potential that you've created. Yeah.
There you go. So, like we said before, with the energy, we want to hold it in an environment that creates the energy but doesn't use it so that we can multiply that energy. The second you get a spark, you failed.
Yeah, that makes sense though. And damn, that sounds a lot simpler than I would have originally imagined.
Generally, these things are, as long as you can understand the concept of them, and then building it just takes a little bit of imagination.
I can imagine that's what a lot of people do with trying to reverse engineer Tesla's work, is they just think about it too hard and like it's like overthinking it to the point where you don't really see the intention.
So if all you do is read the patent, right? Here's what you're missing. So let me just explain this. You have no idea where you have no idea where the interactions are. You have a general idea when you read the patent where the interactions are, right?
The patents are in full though, right? They didn't like.
Oh yeah, no, none of them are messed up. Nothing's missing.
Okay, so they're all in full.
Yeah, it's. Have you created the same thing? Did you understand the energy flow of it? Did you understand the flaws of it when you built it? So 90% of people look at the patent, they go, oh, well, it can't be the way you're saying it because I looked at the patent. Well, did you build the patent?
Right. No, I can imagine people building that old of a patent, because he made a lot of his components by hand. So they would probably say, oh, I could replace this with a capacitor I could buy on Amazon or something, or, and then they completely change the schematics of what was intended.
And
so no, I can definitely see that.
They'll also tell you till they're blue in the face that it's 100% dead on.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to talk to people and they don't understand why it's not and what the actual interaction is, and they'll tell me all day long that they're right. And I go, okay, show me that you built it and show me how it works, and I'll agree with you if that's what you show. Well, as soon as you start showing your work, it starts to tell me who you are, because I already know how it works. I already know each part you're going to build, and I know why you're going to fail, because I've already built it. That's why I'm asking, because it's not to be rude, because I'm trying to tell you the answer in the beginning. I'm not trying to lie to you. I'm trying to tell you the answer in the beginning. You don't believe me, so you build it. Yours doesn't work. Mine works just fine. It's because I understood it. It's like when you want to break the water and you want to put it in hydrogen and oxygen, you have to pull the oxygen away from the hydrogen. And if you do not do that, then they're going to recombine and you'll end up with water again. And a lot of people don't understand that. They go, well, why am I only getting a certain amount of hydrogen? Well, because you're not separating the oxygen properly. Mm-hmm. And then you go, well, was there a device in there that showed you how to pull it? Oh, well, there was this magnetic field that they created. Oh, did you stop to think that oxygen had a magnetic component to it, that it would pull towards that to separate it from hydrogen? Mm-hmm. And they go, no. Well, again, build the experiment. Let's see why it was wrong, and let's fix it. So that's one of the main components right there. If you can do that, boom, you got it. You want to start multiplying that stuff out. It was an easy answer. He gave it to you. It was right in his patent.
So. I'm wondering, so how much would you say of Tesla's work is public versus like that we don't know? You say like maybe we've scratched the surface publicly, like maybe 10% of his work or 20%. Do you think he had a lot hidden or maybe just a little bit?
I think that 60% of his work is not out there.
60%. Wow.
Maybe it, and that 60%, there's a value to each percentage. So you got all the low end. You're getting the pennies and dimes and nickels.
Right.
And,
right.
Yeah, you're not.
You're a jump change.
Yeah, you're not getting the dollar. I mean, you're not even at the dollar level yet. You're not. You know what I mean?
I love your analogy, but no, that makes sense though.
I mean, look, we barely created the negative side of energy. We're ranging, between the $1 and $5 range here, man. We haven't got to $100 yet. We are sadly behind.
Yeah.
I mean,
Elijah said
think
the
about
FBI
what I told you. The pyramids, cars invention. Okay, both of those had Nikola Tesla's, like a signature of his. He didn't build the pyramids, obviously, but he understood them to build his work. Then he gave Carr the information to build that. So
everybody built their device off of the, development of somebody, previous to them, like like we usually do, advancing science. But it's it wasn't like in the spotlight. So we kind of have to like dig for this information.
Yeah, but that's only in the $50 range, Ben. We haven't got up to the $100 range. So,
oh wow.
when you start getting to the next level and you go teleportation, transmutation, you know what I mean? Can we teleport? All of these things
time
are in
manipulation.
There. Yeah. I mean, that's the $100 level. You know what I mean?
I mean, when you can manipulate gravity, you can manipulate time theoretically. So,
it's
not out of the realm of possibility.
But people can't get past the components in it and just realize the Utron is not this big energy device; it's a frequency device. And if they can finally understand that, man, they'd be all right. I mean, you literally have an open chamber in there that was filled with fluid. I mean,
yeah.
What am I telling you about aluminum? What am I telling you about water? What am I telling you about crystal? It's all right there.
And what were the Vimanas powered by? An open or a chamber filled with mercury, filled with liquid mercury.
You had tubes in there that created resonance. You had two tubes one size, two tubes another size. You created resonance in all of them, which created a beat frequency in the entire craft.
And this was, you can get this information from the ancient Indian texts that were written like what, thousands of years ago. It's like,
we didn't even get into that. Here
I know this could be a good episode for a future.
There's the $50 level. So they created a bowl. Mm-hmm. They put the rock in the bowl. The bowl has resonance in it. Okay, as they're hitting this thing with all kinds of trumpets and sound. Right now, the bowl's resonating. When the resonance now saturates the rock that's in it, right? Mm-hmm. Now the rock is movable, but sound is movement. So when it starts to get shaky and stuff, the sound of the bowl brings it up. Now they hit it with the trumpet and it goes. That's as simple as it gets, but that's the next level. That's understanding it. Saturation of the cold energy inside something or resonance frequency of it then has different powers. So let me correlate this to something simple you can understand a little better. If I took my Tesla coils, right, and put them across the table from each other, and I put a wire from one to the next, you'd go, well, that's just pretty normal energy, right? Mm-hmm. What if I tested my Tesla coil and I told you, I'm going to put this thing at 40 volts. So at 40 volts, I'm getting 5 feet of energy in a field around it. Fair?
Fair.
What if I told you the only thing that I did to another Tesla coil is put it into ground, but I put it 30 feet away? And it worked.
So to me, knowing what I know, that's not surprising. But if you were to ask me, 3 years ago, I would say, what the heck is going on there?
So it's transmitting the frequency through the ground in order to get to the other Tesla coil. It's resonating the other Tesla coil because it's the exact same frequency as the original Tesla coil. Now they're both at the same frequency and creating a field.
And I can imagine maybe the quality of ground material might play some part in the distance it could go, maybe?
Put a rod of copper in the ground and attach your wire to it. It's as simple as that. Put them on both sides of the yard. This is
And
why.
does it matter how far down you dig it or knock it down, or do you have a specific?
Sometimes it is. You want to do it just like the energy company does it.
Yeah, I can imagine you want to survey your land to see what's under there first.
But if you want to really get it going, get down to the water table. If you have a low water table, oh my God, can we start to have some fun?
Yeah, like if you live in Florida or on the coast or something. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah. You want to amplify some energy? We can do it. We're going to have some fun there. But yeah, Tesla knew this. He played with all of it. Every single part of it, Ben, he played with. He really knew what he was doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of apparent that he was probably one of the most profound geniuses of the last, 200, 300 years?
Yeah, really. I mean, he pretty much created all the electricity. Yeah, people defined it after him.
Oh, yeah. People don't realize our grid hasn't really changed in years, and it's all based off of his work that was done like over 100 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. You have people that defined it maybe before him, and he took on some of their work.
Right.
But there's a big difference there. Somebody can create sparks in a lab that does not make them Tesla. So if you do that, and then he's over here, creating time dilation, you guys aren't the same. Okay? Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, all right. Somebody's playing at the kiddie table.
Yeah, like they invented it, but then he comes along and takes it to the whole new level.
Yeah, and we're still screwing around with the old technology that he would have anticipated we, not be using for 100 years. We're still using it 100 years later.
Oh, this is like ornaments in his bathroom to him.
Yeah.
What we're using. When he's in there doing his business, he turns them on to have a little fun while he's waiting for the business to continue. But we're way off, man. Like I told you, we're getting pennies and dimes and nickels. We're not getting the real money here.
Yeah.
We're making sparklers.
Snakes and sparklers.
We're making sparklers. We're literally just going, can we put music to it? Well, that's pretty cool. And it makes a big sparkle. Wow, we're entertained, right? And don't get me wrong, I'll sit there like the rest of you guys, man. I'll be like absolutely in awe, right? But I just, in the end, I know it's a sparkler. He intended so much more.
Well, it's like, you know what I see it as? All these people, like, I look at them like now, like cavemen, like, oh, I found fire. And they mess with their Tesla coils. They don't know what the hell it is. Oh, me mad. Me got fire.
Yeah.
Play with fire.
Hey, look, I'm going to tell you right now, there's some that do, man. Like, you get into Master Evo's work. Wow.
Oh, Master Evo is a master. I love his videos. He's so great. And he has a knack for kind of like explaining some of Tesla's like theories in a way that I can understand them. Because, Tesla is a very complex guy.
My favorite thing is when he puts that third coil on there as the pulse coil. That's my absolute favorite that he does. So, and he perfectly explains it. So, yeah, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's a great channel. For anybody who hasn't checked out Master Evo, that's IVO. He's a great resource for anything Tesla.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. So, I wonder where Gerald is.
Not sure. Was he supposed to be on tonight?
He's supposed to be, yeah. I don't know what's going on. He was, I don't know. I won't bring any of that up. but he's probably busy doing something else, making some cash. Yeah, Ian talks to Evo all the time. They were communicating on Ian's one-wire energy. I thought that was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, Ian got with him, and Ian built his capacitor bank, the one, and Ian's building them. So Ian sent me a message. He's going to send me one.
Yeah, no, I got that. You know, hopefully he got my address too, because those are some nice cap banks. Yeah, he said he's gonna send out a few. I'm not sure how many he has to go around, but they're very useful piece of equipment. And those are, if I'm not mistaken, those are actually based off of Master Evo's design, right?
Absolutely, they are. So, yeah, that's cool, man. But the way he uses it in the circuit's really awesome. It'll help you tune that thing quick.
It will. No, because that's the last missing piece to our puzzle for the coil is how to tune the capacitance, right? You know, like we can easily swap out capacitors, but that's time consuming. We want a cap bank to tune it. To, you know, figure out where the ideal sweet spot is for our load, you know, that it just makes sense. So when I saw that he was, you know, building those, I was like, holy crap, that is the missing piece to my puzzle right here.
Well, just think about it this way, Ben. Instead of the switches, you could switch it to an Arduino, which is the switch, and then you could computerize it.
That's true. Well, we
Probably
have
more
an
like
open
a Raspberry Pi, because Arduino you have to pre-program it.
Yeah, I do have a Raspberry Pi I can use. I got two Arduinos and a Raspberry Pi just to screw around with. I haven't gotten the Arduino program to work with my green machine yet, but hopefully soon.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard because you have to pre-know all the numbers.
Yeah, I got the screen to turn on. That's good.
It's always a plus.
It's coming along. It's coming along, but yeah, no, that's the missing piece of the coil puzzle is the capacitance. You know, I got my eye on some. I think there are 330 picofarad capacitors that we're going to be using for the open circuit. So the Lightning Thief has an open circuit method on it that I've actually not used yet. I don't think I did. I think I mentioned that, but it requires a 330 picofarad capacitor, I believe. So when we get those in, we're going to test them, but they should, you know, increase the efficiency, hopefully. But yeah, the cap bank the cap bank, if we had a cap bank, we could be like, okay, we put that up there and see what like works best, you know, with the system, you know.
Well, see, so take your rodent coil. You know how the wires come out of it?
Mm-hmm.
If instead of just soldering them together, if I could put a diode in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for every time that it wraps the coil once, that energy came in and went through that diode. Now it can't go back. Now I can go through it again, wrap it again, and then diode it again. Think about doing it on every level. By the time you get to the end, that field should be huge. Now, it's going to
that's different than just closing off the end. You're actually putting a diode there so it can't go backwards. No, that actually could work.
You get what I'm getting at here, right?
Yeah.
we're building energy in something by dioding it and not letting it go backwards. But you're also getting the secondary effect of the dielectric in that energy pushing out to the other wires in that whole thing. That's one of the keys to making a rodent coil work, is that dielectric penetrates the other wires. So now you're not just having one that runs through there and goes through time. Now you're having multiple ones build.
Right, they stack on top of each other. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the next level, I would guess. Now, will it work? I don't know. We got to put it together and check it out. And if it works, great. We'll push it on and tell everybody what it is. But that's kind of the idea.
Yeah. I got to tell you right now, while I remember, when I send you the Lightning Thief, be careful with the open circuit method, because when Michel hooked it up without a load, it like filled his apartment with ozone. So just be careful.
Well, it's nice that you guys found that in there, at least, you know?
Yeah, no, I haven't tested with the open circuit method, but we're going to be doing that soon. And I have a feeling it's going to yield some interesting results.
You know what? Now that I think about it, Ben, if we treat it like a voltage multiplier, okay, we can even put it into a voltage doubler circuit. So let's just go with the analogy of diode and capacitor.
Mhm.
So for every level or every wire, diode, capacitor, you start building up more capacitance, right?
Right. So it's not just amplifying it, it's building it at the same time.
So the capacitance could be in the coil. So don't get me wrong. They could be just need a diode.
Right.
But
Oh yeah, that's true. The coil itself is a capacitor, or acts as one at least.
that's kind of the thing. So now if we start looking at things in that way now we're going to be going in the right direction, right? So diodes, capacitors, how do we build one field on top of the other? Which one now flows to the next? How's the direction going? Once we understand that, multiplying that thing way past where it is, it's going to be easy. I don't think a lot of people look at it that way. They look at it as I could tap into the field here, here, and here, and that's special, right?
Right.
And hey, buddy, you're missing half the point. like what this thing's supposed to build up. They're telling you it's building up energy in it, and you're going, I get maybe double.
Yeah, it's kind of like tapping the well before it's full.
Yeah.
So but there's a couple of configurations with the coil that I know that is going to require it to build up energy for it to work. You know, specifically, the one that comes off the top of my head is the magnetic rotary. That requires you to build up, energy in order for it to gain peak efficiency. So,
by the way, Ben, you ever put a wire down the center of that thing once you had it in the magnetic spinning of that thing? Instead of putting that in there, put a wire down the center?
Oh, so when I produce the electromagnetic field, put a wire. No, I haven't.
So think of it this way. The coil is like the outside of the winding on a Tesla coil, and the magnetic field's all pushing into the center.
So I could tap that with a wire? Oh, wow. That makes sense. It does make sense.
Because all you're
especially
doing
if it's in resonance, too.
You're simply pulsing DC when you're making a Tesla coil.
Yeah.
You're literally pulsing a magnetic field, okay? That's pulsing the secondary winding. So you're already doing that. You're pulsing it like this all the way around in order to create that thing to spin, right?
By pulsing pulsing DC, are you trying to simulate AC, or is it something completely different than AC? Because I know AC goes back and forth, whereas the DC is just pulsed forward.
Oh,
right?
man, I could say something really bad, but let me just say it this way, okay? It's like tapping a string. As soon as you tap the bottom, it wiggles. So tap it, AC sine wave.
Okay.
So
I can see where that could. You're trying to
to be good today.
Yeah, phrase that the polite way. Ian says, "Be right back." Okay, Ian, I might take a quick 3-4 minute break in a second, and then come back with my camera on.
Yeah, well, Joe's coming on, so he'll be on in a few minutes too.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So we're gonna, so I'll just take a quick 5-minute break, and when I come back, I'll put on my camera and show you what I got.
Oh, right on.
Do we have? Yes, awesome. Okay, I got that here. No, I have the green machine. I printed out a new cover for it, and I put the buttons in, and I put the screen in. And everything's plugged in. It's just the program is not taking, so I have to mess with the code a little bit. But other than the screen, a screen turns on, and it actually works as it's supposed to. So all the components fit. I'm excited to show you it.
Yeah, give me a minute before you take off, Ben. I wanted to find something. So talk with me for a little bit before I find it.
Yeah, you want me to wait till Joe shows up?
Yeah, if you could.
Yeah.
So I was looking for that Egyptian thing. I should have pulled it to the side.
Well, like we were talking about the snake earlier.
Yeah, but this one was the bowl. It was the whole thing, man. And I'm trying to skim through where it would be. And by the way, there are tuning forks all over Egyptian stuff. They just don't show them to you.
So light seen within says DC pulses on and off, which is true, and then AC is up and down. I never thought about it that way.
Like I told you, tap the string.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I don't think it's AC necessarily. It's pure potential. I don't think it comes out AC.
Oh, from the Tesla coil at least?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
I know that's kind of and say, oh, there's still a sine wave. But
so it's different than AC. You're saying the pulse DC that comes out of the Tesla coil shouldn't be confused with AC because it might be different.
It's how do I say it? It's a sine wave, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it's potential, not AC. And how do I say this? Okay. So you convert potential into DC, then back to AC, right? So when you're doing your conversion. So if you create a windmill, okay, and you want to pull the energy from it, you're going to create potential. Mm-hmm. They call it like a dirty AC, okay, which is just potential. Mm-hmm. That potential then gets converted into DC. Then you convert the DC back to AC with the full bridge rectifiers, right? So when you create it in your Tesla coil, you're creating dirty AC or potential. Now, what's the difference? Potential sparks over where AC doesn't. It sticks to the wire.
Okay, so that's the distinction to make. Okay. So
you got
AC
too many amps.
To the wire, and then and you have all that potential, it sparks over, you're saying. So that
it shoots huge lightning bolts in the air.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you go, well, no, it's AC, it's AC. No. They convert when they make this stuff through full bridge rectifiers to get AC. And you'd know that if you went out there and you go, okay, I just want to create a big fan, no, not a fan, but you know what I mean? One of those turbines or whatever you want to call it, like things for the air.
Why am I brain farting this too? A wind turbine.
Wind turbine. There you go. Yeah, sorry.
Hey, what's up, Joe?
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Oh, you go.
Yeah, so if you create a wind turbine, it's creating dirty AC. You have to convert to DC and then convert back to AC in order to get real AC out of it. So it's the same thing coming out of your Tesla coil. So when you tap that string, that's potential.
Filthy, dirty AC.
That's right.
Dirty AC.
I had a great analogy for it, but I can't say it. It's just too much.
No.
It's too dirty.
I'll do it.
Something your dad would tell you when you're young.
How you doing, Joe? It's good to have you here, man.
What's up, Joe?
Not too much, Nathan. How's things, man?
Good.
Yeah, no, great conversation you guys were having tonight. Very good. I love when you guys open up the Tesla and Egyptian can of worms.
It's definitely one of my favorite topics. And I'm kind of like now excited to do another episode on ancient India as well. So those are some topics that I've been wanting to talk about on the Fringe think tank. Go back to.
Yeah, when you tap into that, get into all the sculptures and stuff around their, all the ancient structures and temples and stuff.
The megalithic structures, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of their sculpture work that they do on the sides of all their buildings from like antiquity and stuff is not all that much dissimilar to, like hieroglyphs and stuff.
Really?
So, yeah, it tells a lot of the same tales.
Do they have like because I know like we see like that the pristine and precise like carvings of the sculptures? Do we see that in India too? Like anything like the perfect symmetry between the faces?
Well, I mean, I think that a lot of the mandala art and everything like that comes out that we use through sacred geometry has its roots in in that part of the East.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, that's
like
true.
Some of the more early examples, and it's still something that they embrace today.
There you go, right there.
Oh, nice big ankh. I like the ankh. I'm gonna wear it around my neck
But
as a necklace.
you have two tuning forks next to each other with the Ankh. The tuning forks are on the outside of the bowl. You have the bowl. Now you have the flower of life. You resonate the bowl is what you're doing. Put the frequency in just like the tuning forks are telling you. So people over there take those wooden dowels and they move them around the bowls in order to make the frequency.
You fill it with water, I think I can imagine, right?
Well, they have like quartz singing bowls and stuff like that. It's all activated quartz crystal, and
it doesn't require any fluid in there. Just
no. The dish is all you need to get that in resonance once you start.
So it's just the shape.
There's so many dirty places to go with this, Nathan. God help me. We're still in the Christmas season.
Maybe I shouldn't take a break.
All you got to do is wipe your finger around the rim a little bit.
Oh, come on now.
And get that bitch screaming.
We're talking about resonance.
Listen, that's how it works, though. I mean, that's exactly how it works.
Oh, you got to bring Joe into the conversation.
I just read your private comment, and I'm dying.
I tell you, something your dad would teach you.
Oh my God.
Oh, I don't know if you can go over and click that, Joe, on the private part.
Oh yeah, it might kick me out. I don't play with it while I'm in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, been there, done that.
I told him, I guess I'll tell you. All right, so it's been 2 hours, so we're at the very end. So your dad would tell you, strap a board to your ass and slap her fat ass and ride the wave in. That's how you know you got AC.
That's fair.
Right on in there.
Oh,
Mike's here from Faraday. What's up,
Not
Mike?
not for anything. My dad used to tell me, and it's relevant to this very conversation, that every generation thinks that they invented the blowjob, but your great grandmother, she had an appreciation.
Oh, we're way off the rails now.
Yeah. Oh no, listen, it's true. All rediscovering things. We're talking about it like it's. We're
talking about
I'm only poking like fun, Ben. But the number of times that you said groundbreaking in this particular episode,
you counting them?
And we're talking about the stuff that we're finding out of the 75-year-old book that he found from the Egyptians,
Oh, wow.
I know, and we're finding it like absolutely astounding, and it's kind of pathetic on some degree, I guess, when you think about the bigger picture. But on the smaller scale, I think it's an exciting time.
No, it's very exciting times, please.
Yeah, but yeah,
Right.
no, it's kind of frustrating how like he just discovered all of this stuff and we're just left to pick up the pieces,
Well, again, that's why when we were doing the Christmas episode, we were talking about, their time passed, right? Then it stopped and reset. Now it's our time. So are we going to squander it like they did and not get beyond it? Or did they get beyond it and they moved on from the same area that we're at?
Yeah, we can't be repeating the same mistakes and be stuck in the same cycle. That's for sure.
Yeah, I want to get to the next cycle. You know what I mean? Like everybody else. I don't want to be flooded over when we, switch poles. That's going to be bad.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though.
I can't swim that well.
Eighth Sinner was sharing some cool Organite stuff with me, and you know how we brought that up a handful of times. And
oh yeah, yeah. I to be honest, I don't know too much about Organite.
Yeah, I think that after I talk to him and see what comes of that and everything, I know a little bit on the subject, and it's pretty clear that he's probably a bit of an authority on it. So I'm interested to see what comes out of that, and maybe that's something we could bring up, because I mean it's all directly related to everything that we discuss on a regular basis, and it's something that everybody could have.
You're talking about
he's interested.
The Organite. I'm sorry, what was it again?
Organite energy. I mean, it's natural. Yeah. We've talked about it.
Sorry, I'm hearing.
Yeah. But in the chat, we were talking about, like crystals and crystal sensitivity. And I was like, oh, man, that's how I ended up on this channel.
Just got the rock. That's
Yeah,
right.
the damn rock, man.
I didn't start out in that place. Honestly, I was a extreme skeptic of crystal and pyramid power and all sorts of, like I was very skeptical. And now I'm kind of like, how did I not see it before?
Well, listen, skepticism is healthy
Oh,
because
it
the
is.
difference between the belief in something and knowing something is the experience. So once you start to realize the significance through your own trials and tribulations, it becomes a lot more real.
Yeah.
Then
If
you
you would
don't
have asked
question it at
me
all.
10 years ago about this stuff, I probably would have a completely different answer. But
Yeah.
the crystals and stuff that you talk about, I really don't know a lot about. So I don't
Yeah. Well,
really know about like
that first
organized.
crystal, the rock that we were talking about that I brought up, I mean, that stuff is just like um yeah, it's really advanced even for me and super speculative as to even like what the story with that was, just because it was so unrelatable to anything that I've ever experienced before. Like so wildly unrelatable that it needed to be spoken about. It
Yeah.
definitely did. So don't feel bad that you're out of the loop on it, but there's definitely like a scientific explanation for it. It's not.
Mm.
It wasn't possessed.
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad that we have you on to explain some of these things. I know like honestly, like I I would have probably not believed any of this 10 years ago, you know, and it
Yeah.
just shows you like the journey that I've been on, like I would have probably called bogus on all of this stuff. And now like I have like a coil system and we're starting to actually understand this stuff. And I don't know, it's just like it's kind of surreal, if that's the right word to think about,
Yeah, well, I mean, anytime something that you'd be super skeptical of and it just like literally put your nose up at, anytime that finds its way into your life and then you become in the know, I mean, it's a whole entire paradigm shift at that point. You realize,
Mhm.
like, wait
It
a
is, yeah.
second, if I thought this one way all along and I was so skeptical of all these other things, and now I see how this is actually real and positively affecting my life and the results are real and measurable, and
Exactly, yeah.
it opens your mind to what else you might have been mistaken about, and that's kind of the beauty of it too.
Well,
Right.
once you start seeing the interaction between stuff, right?
Yeah.
The water, the crystal, everything, and you start to go, "Oh my God, it's eye opening that maybe there's more here."
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it always like everything that we've been talking about, I'm always like, well, what's next? Like what's the next big thing that we're gonna be talking about? Like what's the next big discovery that's gonna happen? Because
Well,
we're having all these breakthroughs almost weekly.
we kind of had one when I did the live. So when I did the experiments and you started to hear the frequencies go off when I started moving things around, imagine if I took that same mic and I sent it to Gerald and I said, okay, now turn on your coil and put it all around it on a live. Let's see what the frequency and the sounds are. Which corner does what? You can literally map that thing in a whole new way.
And was that the one you were doing the live demonstration, the live stream?
Yeah, you could hear the frequency as soon as I move the wire next to it. You go whoop, 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 change all
Yeah,
the
like a
frequencies.
it sounded like a theremin. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, that modulation's significant because that's your observable measure.
yeah.
It was so
Having
loud
an
too.
observable measure is critical, and a lot of times in this sort of stuff, that's the hard thing to identify. I mean, anytime that you have an in on having something that differs depending on variables, it's like, okay, let's hold on to this piece of it. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
And
also a verification when you get to your coils.
Oh yeah,
and it
very
was
cool.
so loud compared to like I could get my coil to sing, excuse me, but not that loud. You know what I mean? Like that was insane.
I bet you it would with this mic. It's a $10 mic from Amazon. You buy it, you put it next to it, see what it does, Ben, because
Oh,
it's
is that
not
what you use? You used a
filtering.
microphone to amplify it?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
I can't hear it. I literally stand right next to it. I can't hear it. Okay, you can hear yours. So If you took
Yeah.
that mic and put it next to it, you're going to hear everything, Ben. Then you're going to be like, okay, it wasn't just singing to me. It started to talk to me like aliens were in the room. And
No, that's a good idea. I
they were
should do
telling me to
that.
go cook them
Okay,
a burrito.
so here comes
I mean-
here comes the objectivity part of your test, though, Nathan.
Go
You
ahead.
need to have a third party with like good normal hearing. See if they can hear
You
it.
got a point.
Because right now there's like, okay, does Nathan just not hear it and then it's on the camera after the fact? Or like,
No, that's a good point.
yeah, right. Or is it like an anomaly that the camera is able to pick it up that no people can? Like, I think that's
Right.
important to know. And it's like,
That is-
I know that
so-
your hearing is not the best. So
This isn't definitive by any measure, but my cell phone, when I do the videos, you don't hear any volume back there. You can hear me talk,
Mhm.
but you don't hear any sound. And I'm doing the same experiment.
Really?
When I put on this mic, you can hear it. But when I'm using the one I'm using now,
Mhm.
it doesn't do anything because it cancels it out. So that's not definitive. You're absolutely right.
right.
But there is kind of some leeway to say that it could be that.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, if you have active
Variables,
ambient noise cancellation and it's an electronic function, you'd have to disengage it. But then if you disengage it and it's still not showing up, then the question becomes, well, what's the microphone composition at that point? Because there's several different kinds of microphones out there. Some might
Right.
be able to pick up on certain, frequency, so certain
Like a dog can
different
hear
range
certain
of frequencies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, that
Well,
makes sense.
The one way to do it is we can always ask Tech Planet to evaluate it. He did my gravity flyer and he evaluated the sound and told me what it was. He can do the same thing. He's got a program to do it. I could just ask him.
That's cool. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to get every single one of the anomalies on tape that way. So that'd be really cool. I should start wearing that mic when I do it in the garage and film it the same way. I think that'd be fair.
Yeah, for sure. And even in the future too. Like, and I don't know exactly what technology you need, but I think integrating like a thermal sensor or something like that, like a FLIR or whatnot,
Okay.
into this, so you could sort of see the range of temperature fluctuations and exactly what those movements look like.
I agree with you. I just wanted to answer this. So can you do it with an AM radio? Yes, but it's harder to find. But on the reverse side, if we find the frequency that it is, then we tune the AM radio to that frequency. Does it amplify in the resonance in there in order to give us a higher frequency out of the AM radio? So we could verify it both ways. That would be awesome. The temperature thing, I have a thermal camera coming. I ordered it already.
Cool.
So now we'll be able to see it when I do the videos and stuff. I'll be able to turn on thermal cam and you'll be able to see it.
Thanks, members.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. Yeah, they helped me pay for everything, to be honest with you, man. Everybody that came on as a member, guys, I really appreciate you. And you guys get the emojis, by the way. Those are so cool. I love it. I love it when everybody's here because I can go on there and just blast the chat with emojis and stuff and have fun and everything else. But it's kind of hard when you're talking by yourself and it's like you can't really get them all. But yeah, that's really cool, man. So yeah, we got a thermal camera coming in. I have black lights now. The boxes behind me over my shoulder, those are all black light. So
cool.
Yeah. Oh, and the camera picks them up beautifully, by the way. So back when I did my hot dog the other day, did you guys see that?
I might have missed the hot dog. Why did I miss the hot dog?
Oh, hold on.
Nathan, you have to stop making so much content.
Oh, well,
I'm breaking chops. Don't stop making so much
You
content.
got black lights everywhere. We're gonna have a party, man. We're gonna
I'll be
raid.
the first one friggin' act right off the channel. Hey, you need me to spare up some time? Saturdays are free.
we don't dare throw the black light on in Joe's room, but I made
No,
sure
don't do that.
I made sure it was clear before I turned anything on and showed
I
everybody.
used to say keep away from my bed with that thing, but these days it's like more like keep away from the trash can.
Oh no! Oh, you had to go there.
Oh,
Wow.
you were the
I
one.
guess we just stepped in it, didn't we?
I'm giving you material, buddy.
So check this out. This is really cool, guys. I'll mute it for now so you guys see what's going on. The hot dog, I just put 2 little wires on each side of it, and I put my Tesla coil to the right side, and the light right there's the black light to the left. And that hot dog, because there's moisture in it, it'll transmit the energy right through it.
Salt content probably doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, well, certain things were actually more conductive than others. When I went through this whole list of things.
Yeah, according to your touch.
I see my whole pile.
Yeah, look at that.
I got my burrito, some oranges, an apple. I put it through everything.
Man, you're funny.
I put it. I see the little wire. I just made lunch, man, and I'm like, well, some healthy stuff. I got a tomato, I think, in there. But who does this, man? Who runs the energy through a hot dog? And it didn't even burn. Like a lot of people were thinking it's going to explode, like it would in a microwave, right? It didn't. See, turn on the light.
Yep, look at that. Yep, definitely a different reaction than the guy that, touched the hot dog to the to the AM what do you call it, radio antenna.
Oh yeah.
That had a different reaction.
Different. Yeah, his started on fire, didn't it? It burned up, and
I think it exploded.
Oh.
He's like, man, these don't smell as good when you cook them this way.
No.
That's hilarious. Dude, that was my prediction. Like what would happen if you hooked it up to a hot dog? Because if you think about it, hot energy would explode it, but it's cold energy, so
exactly.
It's
Look,
crazy.
It even turns on the light from a distance.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I thought I could only do it with mud. I'm over here doing it with my oranges and everything.
Well, I think this is the one instance where you could say you're happy that you have a raw dog instead of a cooked dog.
I don't know, man.
Now you got Ben
usually
going,
happy
Joe.
about a raw dog.
Oh.
I don't know. I think
Wow.
people do, but
So
yeah,
there's
well, this is how I have many children.
that tomato's looking pretty good. I bet we can make a double entendre out of that one.
Oh, you guys are bad.
I know. Okay, I'll show
Hey,
you.
you're the one that sent me a link.
Yeah. Oh, that was hilarious, by the way.
I didn't send myself a link.
Oh. Yeah, look at that. There's an apple.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just telling you that there's energy there.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. I got a burrito.
Nice. Yeah, I love those things.
Oh man, it gets bad too. It's like, I took out the stuff and I told my wife, she goes, "Why do you got hot dogs and burritos out?" I go, "Well, I'm just gonna put a bunch of energy through them." She just shakes her head like, "Only you."
Honestly, man, I have no idea what your wife thinks about all this, but
probably thinks I'm insane.
Yeah, probably. It's cool. I think you're a little crazy too, but I still like you.
Look at that burrito, lights it up.
It's crazy.
That's so awesome. Burrito power. Usually you have a different kind of burrito power when you eat them.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
This one just gives you straight power. I guess which is better for the room, I guess.
That's wild stuff, man. I don't know. None of this stuff would have ever occurred to me, so I commend you.
Mike says his house is powered by a wiener.
Like, all right, let's see what else we can run some energy through.
Well, there's some yogurt. You think it'll go through the yogurt? I can do it through distilled water. It makes no difference what it is, as long as there's liquid in it.
So let's do a little thought experiment here. When you run cold energy through a piece of fruit, it doesn't even be hooked up to anything. Just run the cold energy into the fruit. You put another piece of fruit right next to it with a wire sticking out of it for just control purpose. Maybe not right next to it, a little further away. You see what the spoilage or the change over time looks like. You leave it. You really can't leave it on, I guess, for that long because of the saturation, though, right?
I could leave it on.
Yeah.
We could do, an hour at a time, maybe half hour, see what it does.
Yeah, well, right. Even if it's just like click it on and click it off for intermittently or whatever. Just see if it has any sort of difference.
This circuit
Over
doesn't
time.
heat up, so I
Yeah.
could look if I didn't worry about the energy in the room, which I shouldn't probably, this thing would go all day. So my
I believe it.
my Slayer cider puts out a little bit of what is that? That stuff Ben was just talking about. That air. Oh my god, ionized air is what it's putting out. So I get ozone. Sorry. Brain's going crazy. I get ozone in the room, so I can't leave that one on. This one doesn't have any ozone. So what do you think, Joe? We got some liquids. You think it's going to light it up?
Yes. I bet you it'd go off if you touch it too.
Oh, I'd complete the circuit.
Yep.
It wouldn't hurt.
Oh, Gatorade. Look at you, Mr. Electrolyte.
I so solemnly swear it's Gatorade in that bottle.
Yeah, either that or you better go see a doctor, man, because that's a little cloudy.
Oh. That turns right on.
There it goes.
I guess a lot of this should be expected. A lot of people said sugar content is one of the things there. So high sugars, high salt, and there's a lot of salt in all of it.
Well, those are all the same things that run off of metabolism. Do you see a connection there between cold energy, life force, and things that are needed for metabolic function? It all makes sense. It's like a nervous system.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
By
the way,
so when you do something like an EMG, for instance, like because I need to dance around this lightly, to test your nerve function and stuff. What energy they're looking for.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what they're looking for.
Right. So the question is, I wonder what's there that they're not looking for.
Yeah. Well, once they find it, it's a game changer.
Because I think there's a lot more of what they're not looking for there than what they're looking for.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going.
They don't know to look for it. This one, by the way, the pineapple, I don't know if it's the acidity of it or what, but that light absolutely loves that pineapple juice.
It might be the acidity, but pineapples also have like specific enzymes in them as well. And, you could potentially be affecting the enzymes in a way that we don't understand.
It could be. I just know it's really highly conductive. So if I were to put a jar of that in there and I could create, you saw the distance. I mean, that's about probably better than the mud gave me, or the same.
That thing was throwing.
I'm gonna make one big concoction.
Yeah, don't throw that away. That was good pineapple juice, man. That stuff's good for you.
Wow, we're gonna.
It's one of my favorite things. I love that stuff.
We're gonna do the next one. We're gonna put a little Dr. Pepper in there.
Dr. Pepper.
Nice.
Come
That's
on.
what I like with my barbecue.
Let's make the world taste better, baby.
Oh yeah, if they didn't put strawberries or something in there.
Do they put strawberries in there?
Yeah, it was an odd Dr. Pepper. So.
Oh yeah, they have a bunch of weird ones now. They're trying to keep up with Coke.
Yeah, look.
Strawberry and cream. Yeah.
Oh, that just sounds bad. At least in soda, I guess.
Right? Isn't that how we know that we've entered into a new era? Like I heard that Dr. Pepper is more popular than Coca-Cola now.
That's crazy.
And Modelo took over from Bud Light as the best beer, which I mean, Modelo's not bad, but whatever. That's a bad gauge of beer. But Like, talk about like a whole entire like shift in culture, right?
Yeah. That's crazy. Well, so check this out. So you answer me is sorry, or tell me the bubbles in here when I get close to the Dr. Pepper, they're accumulating together.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. They are in the middle, right in between.
I mean, they're all going to the anode or
What's the
cathode, I
tell?
guess.
That is so cool.
It could be nothing. It could be
Hey,
something.
Nathan, you frozen?
Oh, I'm here. You see me?
Oh, yeah, you blinked out for a second.
Oh, they don't like me showing Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, whatever that is, it's important. Remember that, folks.
Huh. Bubbles. Straight in the bubbles. Oh, look at that now. That's just bad looking. What else did I have
Yeah,
there?
so the field is actually acting as an accumulation of CO2, and the way that it's huddling it into the middle, it's actually containing it, which is unusual. It's pretty cool. Makes me think of things.
Yeah. I just find it interesting, man. Nobody does this kind of testing. Like,
Nope.
I got the only channel doing this kind of stuff showing you that it works. So I just think that's awesome. It just keeps lighting stuff up. That one I knew was going to light up. I mean, the pineapple juice was good.
Okay, so here comes the question then, more so than anything else. So since you could light it all up, isn't the list shorter of what you can't light up?
I guess, yes.
So what does it take to light those things up?
Moisture.
It's always the key. It's always got to be the same with the dirt. That's why you got to go into the water line.
Everything has to have a moisture content to it. If it doesn't, you have nothing. So
wait, hold on. So what about non-water liquids?
no, we just had non-water liquids. What do you mean?
Well, but none of these are really non-water liquids. It's all high water percentage. I'm talking about, what about oils, or what about ethanol?
Somebody suggested corn oil.
Yep.
And then also I have mineral oil, so I could try both of those.
Yeah, or motor oil.
Well, because it goes back to what you were saying before about the viscosity of our atmosphere. It's also viscosity and just overall composition of the different liquids, because does that really make a difference? Because I mean, even if it's like a sludgy, wet, muddy mess, at the end of the day, it's H2O. Your pineapple juice, whatever makes it a pineapple, but 90% of it's water.
Right. Whereas synthetic oil is going to be, it's not going to have any water or moisture in it.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. And then what about a water oil separation, or a water oil that actually is emulsified? Does that make a difference? Like, these are the things that I wonder about.
Okay, well, I got motor oil, I got mineral oil.
All right.
Oil that you cook with, vegetable oil. We could try them all.
Yeah. Now you're playing with cold. Now you're playing with cold energy.
My burrito goes through the yogurt. It's so funny.
Have you found, other than like that is
Nathan's having fun with his food.
I just keep putting it in all my food and it lights it up.
Plug it into the burrito. Just plug it into the burrito. It's like, Dad, the TV don't work. Did you plug it into the burrito, son?
Oh, so
Nathan
bad.
activating his food. You know?
Oh man.
It's funny, but it's so cool too. Like it serves two purposes.
Well, I wasn't done with a hot dog apparently. So these work great with potatoes too. There you go, hot dog.
A potato you can turn into a clock. It's able to provide a little bit of tiny bit of energy, right? Just in itself. So that's interesting. You fooled me with the potato, though. I thought you were like transmitting wirelessly energy to the potato and was picking it up, and I thought it was like, oh my god, this is like the receiving potato of the
A potato antenna.
Now, in all fairness, had I put a coil on top of it, just a little spin one, it would have done it wirelessly. If I turned my Tesla coil up.
That was funny though, because it reminded me. You ever played a game Portal?
No, I haven't played that game.
Yeah, so I remember that game from back when.
Yeah, the villain puts herself into a potato.
Oh God!
She loses her body.
So, is there anything else you guys want me to try besides those things we talked about? What would be the next thing?
Yeah, I want you to make a really, really big ring with multiple Tesla coils, and I want you to liberate yourself a transformer or two, and I want you to juice it up, and then I want to see what happens.
Okay.
Oh God, he's gonna come back without a beard or facial.
Either that, or he's gonna come back without a beard because he's a young man.
I don't know which is crazier.
Oh wow! So,
holy fucking paradox. Anyway,
we got honey. By the way, I think the cat droppings, if they're fresh, we would go right through it, but I don't think the dry ones would.
Who made that suggestion?
Well, it says cats purr solar waves, and I took that as cat droppings. So that's my fault, my thinking process. Burnt wood, if it had moisture in it, you'd have energy going through it, but I don't think if it has no moisture, it wouldn't. That traces or tacos? Traces of water. Okay. Do plant growth test. I can do that. I know that works, by the way. But that's something that Gerald does, and I wanted him to do the experiment first.
Yeah, so, he's been saying he's going to come out with that.
Oh, he does it. That's for sure.
Does he already have like a test set up where he's been?
No, he's been doing that.
He is? Okay.
No, he's been doing it for a while. Jello. Oh, yeah. We'll leave Bill Cosby aside and we'll just do the Jello.
Like, don't punch
that. Jello's always fun to play with.
With
whipped cream.
Electroscope jar. Maybe. I'll start doing some things with some funky stuff, man. I thought it was crazy. Like, burrito lights things up isn't crazy enough, so let's just go for the gusto, huh? Yeah, okay. Yeah, by the way, Joe, those things we were talking about in the business venture, this would definitely light all that up.
Well, you know, that's a whole tale for another day.
Oh, so yeah, infrared. I want to do the infrared just once I get it in, just so we can see if it's doing anything else. You know what I mean? Like Joe was saying, that's an awesome test. Crisco. Yeah, we were talking about that.
Well, Crisco's good because not only is that a fat, but it's a solid. It's like lard. It's the equivalent. So you get the, you know, liquid, the waterless medium that's in between a liquid and a solid. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And he wants me to light up John. I don't think that would be a good idea. I might be in jail if I tried it.
Either that or getting a Nobel Prize, one or the other.
Yeah, we venture to the hole and start that up, huh? Okay. Very long chains, too. Okay, I don't know where you're going. I don't own the dungeon. Let's see. Burnt late. Okay, now we're getting in some weird stuff here. All right. John, he's talking about from Skinwalker Ranch? I have no idea. I didn't watch the show.
You should watch that show. It's actually pretty good. I don't really watch it a lot, but what I've caught of it's good.
Is there a new season of it? Because I haven't watched it in like a year or two.
I don't know. I kind of caught it after it started. Like I didn't know it was a thing until after it was a thing.
Okay, we'll do a mushroom.
Mushroom?
Yeah, mushrooms. That's a good one too.
I don't know if there's any water.
Grow fast. You'll be able to see your results faster than plant growth, right?
I want to do grapes, but I also want to do it with the hot side of the testicle. I want to see if we can get plasma in the grapes. Because like in the microwave, you know what I mean?
I think you would.
So yeah, I want to light that up. That'd be cool. And, tomorrow I'm doing a live with hot voltage. So let me see if I can't get a couple of grapes, and then we'll do. We'll see if we can't get the plasma to form in between them.
Oh, that would be cool.
We may have to have rotation.
If you don't blow up.
Wow. If they blow up, even better.
Yeah.
I hope I put it in a burrito and the burrito explodes, dude.
Hey, that's the next thing on your list is a slow motion camera, Nathan.
Oh, I have a slow motion camera. I'm gonna.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm gonna put it in super slow motion as it explodes all over my face and all over the room and everything else.
Dude, I love those slow motion cameras.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to see the grapes thing. Be careful while you're playing with the hot side, though. I always, you know me, I'm always a worry wart. I'm like, my friends are going to kill themselves. That's why I stick to ideas.
Yeah. I see everybody on the internet doing it, and they're doing it with, all kinds of fruit.
All my friends are blowing up grapes.
Yeah. Mom, they're all doing it. Why can't I?
I'm not gonna lie. Now, if there's anything I'm looking forward to, it's seeing Sean's coil, because he sent me a picture of his work in progress, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
That's gonna be cool.
I started seeing the flow in my head on that thing, and I was like, "Oh, you're gonna get some weird stuff, man."
Which
like,
coil
there's
was
gonna
that?
be all sorts of like compression and expansion and like collapsing.
Absolutely.
It's gonna
Which
be
coil
some
was
neat
that?
stuff. I'm really pumped for that. Sean's, yeah.
Yeah, but what kind of coil is he working on?
A cone.
Oh, a cone.
Yeah.
That's right. He was working on a cone.
Let me see.
Or a triangle shape.
It was a cone.
It was a cone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully we can get...
And his stuff, man, it's going to look real nice, too. On top of all else, it's going to look real good.
I think I remember the picture he showed of the frame, where he wraps the wire around.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hold on. We'll just show it. Here we go.
Yeah, there it is. It looks like a Christmas tree. But no, hopefully we can get him on the show Wednesday or next Wednesday.
He's coming on Wednesday.
He is coming on Wednesday?
Yeah, I talked to him about it. So here's his cone.
Those frames are so nice.
Wow. Dude. Mm-hmm.
Like, it's, how hard it is
the
to
field
engineer
that thing's going to put out is going to be so gnarly.
So just...
Yeah.
Describe how is this field going to look when he produces it?
Well, I'm hoping it doesn't cancel at the top. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I mean that could be a point there, but I mean I just feel like it's going to be somewhat asymmetric, but it's going to try and correct itself, and it's going to be sort of like a Pringle. Like a parabola, I feel like.
Right.
And then there's going to be compression. That's what I see when I'm looking at it. But what the hell do I know? I don't know shit.
Well, that's a good instinct. I mean, it does look like it might create something asymmetrical, and obviously nature's going to, course correct or self-correct to find equilibrium. That's not an unfair assessment, honestly. Yeah,
but his stuff has always had pretty good results, like as far as uniqueness goes. So I'm going to say that the proportions are probably really good on it and stuff, and that the course correction is going to be pretty good, and that it's going to have some unique, internal compression situation going on. That's what I'm saying.
So Troy says put two of them tip to tip.
Yeah, that stuff came to mind for me too. I was like, oh, this
Like
looks like
hourglass.
something that you need more than one of, like to really get full result out of. But really,
That would be neat because you
really
produce
sick.
that hourglass shape, right? Or almost.
Yeah, but like obviously the geometry of the coil shape in itself, like that's still a toroidal coil, like in essence.
Well, the way he puts the little lines in there and stacks them is genius.
It's a great idea. Yeah, it's
Those frames are
he
pristine.
makes little fins. That's got to be a huge pain in the rear end to print.
Yeah,
I
but
can imagine.
winding is a lot easier than trying to wind one without the little grooves.
Yeah.
Please, it would be like near impossible to get the spacing and everything proper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the amount of effort that was taken to maybe create a good frame like that was probably a lot less than it would take to wind that without that kind of frame.
Oh,
So
yeah.
save you a lot of time in the long run.
Building that might be fairly easy. You know what I mean?
But the frame is really well engineered. I'm very impressed by those frames. I'm kind of looking to adapt some of those techniques for maybe the Abha coil in some way.
Yeah, I haven't come across Dan Winter. Have you guys?
Yes. So Dan Winter, I think he was the one who wrote a book on shape power. Is that the guy who wrote a book on shape power, or am I thinking of the wrong guy?
I'm not entirely sure. I didn't know.
Sacred Geometry with Dan Winter. I believe that's him.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I know it sounds familiar as a name, but I never. You guys should know by now I don't read very much.
Well, there was a couple of videos I think that mentioned Dan Winter, and I believe he does. He wrote a book on shape power. If that's the guy that I'm thinking of, and specifically ties into
David Anderson wrote Shape Power.
Oh, David Anderson wrote Shape Power.
Yeah. So hold on.
Who is Dan Winter? Then?
Definitely
I don't know who Dan Winter is. Patiently waiting to be enlightened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to read it and see what it says.
I've definitely heard his name. Yeah, his name sounds familiar, but I guess I don't know who he is.
Worth a Google.
Well, the Google came up with Sacred Geometry. So maybe he's in the same realm that I was thinking of, and that's why his name came to mind, but I'm not sure.
I said we're in for a real treat. That's going to be awesome. All right.
Very cool.
Going to look it up. We'll give it to Joe to power read within a day.
Yep. That's usually my either that or I'll just I'll go into meditation and I'll ask God for the answer and maybe he'll tell me.
Well, that's honestly not far from what I do. So.
Thank you, God. Appreciate the gifts.
What if you didn't like the answer? That'd be bad.
Oh, there's been all sorts of stuff that I don't like the answer to. It's led to multiple exponential crises. Like I'm just like, oh, what when that realization kicked in on me of like all is nothing, nothing is all. I was like, oh, I don't know what to do with this. Took a little while to break that down and acclimate to that idea, let alone implement it.
So yeah, if anybody has Dan Winter's YouTube channel, just try to post it.
They can't post it in the chat, Ben. We'll have to just look it up.
Sometimes they can if they put a space in there, but I don't know.
We'll
find it though.
They always kick it off of mine, so I haven't put any little wrench next to anybody's name. Who knows what comes through? So
yeah,
I haven't done any of that.
Well, we'll find it because I'm interested in seeing that if he's got a YouTube channel full of stuff, I'll peruse it and see what's up.
Huh. Always nice to be ahead of the game.
Yeah,
it's
sometimes frustrating to be ahead of the curve,
Not hard to find. Good.
Yeah, well, when you're ahead of the curve, you just can't look for any sort of validation of your findings.
Oh yeah, that's
Sometimes
good.
just
Good
knowing
advice.
yourself is enough, and guiding other people, guiding the horses to the waters.
Yeah,
That's
well,
that's very
letting
good
them drink.
advice.
hey,
Yeah.
I ain't got to worry about replication. Ian takes everything we do and replicates it. So he's
Mhm.
showing everybody's work. Sean's work and mine.
Mhm.
He's doing everybody's. He's doing windings like Gerald. I mean, he's
I've been
got a
seeing
whole
Ian's work
bunch.
since the last time he was on here, and like I just remember being so blown away by how meticulous everything he does was, like absolutely meticulous,
Oh, he does everything to a
Oh
T.
yeah.
And he asks every question and he puts everything in there that you say and gets the results and just straight up with it. So
Yep.
I love that.
Mr.
Mhm.
Bog Irish, props to you, sir.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
very much so.
definitely. Total major props.
Right on. All right, guys, we're at about 3 hours. It's about time to be done.
When I saw the look on your face, I was gonna say it for you.
Oh,
And then I was like, no, that's his job.
you know, yeah. I've been doing a whole bunch of stuff, man, collecting all kinds of items to get to the next level because I got like massive coils to widen in the next couple of days. So your little coils all around you experiment, I'm building 4 coils exactly the same, plus a center pillar is the same, so I can resonate them all at the same frequency. Gerald said I can't build a circle around myself, though. He said that's prohibited. So he's got a good reason for it, so we won't do that, but I'm going to spread them out and see what they do.
If he was being serious about that, there's definitely going to be a good reason.
Oh, he was being serious, all right.
Mm-hmm.
I trust he did some
Well, there was
research.
an analogy to that from Martin Fleischman's channel over there, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They made a joke of it.
What was it?
Well, they set up a whole bunch of arrays in a circle. He laid down. He's like, "Oh, I feel it. Oh, I feel it." And then, if you watch till the end, and he wasn't doing anything special, so you had to be patient and watch to the end. And then he cut himself out of the frame. He disappeared, blinked out.
Nice.
That's funny.
Yeah, he pulled the 3 orbs.
It's so bad.
He pulled the 3 orbs.
Oh. By the way, Joe, that whole thing I sent you was 100% authentic. Not it was his voice.
Oh, I thought it was, but I never heard him. I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to go there.
I thought, by the way, absolutely hilarious. I couldn't help myself. I heard it and I'm like, well, you don't just go comparing that kind of stuff without somebody fighting it.
Yeah. Might as well state my ground on the subject if you're going to bring it up. I appreciate what the guy's doing. He's expressive. I don't always agree with him 100% of the time, and that's okay, because guess what? That's not what this is always about. And the parts that you brought up, I specifically don't agree with. I don't like that. But at the same time, I know why he does it and presents it that way. And it's really to get the word out there and spread the word, and he acknowledges he's not the one doing the work, but he's talking to people that are and watching others that are, right? And I mean, it tends to be a net gain, in my opinion. And so I stay neutral on the subject, but I like having a good laugh every so often. It's sort of what it boils down to.
Hey, you know me, Joe. I mean, I disagree with stuff, but I'm still watching it.
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, I get great entertainment out of it, even if nothing else. And he's turned me on to some really, really bright people, Like there's been a handful of names that I never heard before, and I was like, look, and I'm like, yeah, this is good stuff. It's good stuff.
No,
but at the end of the day, the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project is an ally in trying to disseminate some of this, vital information. So that's how I see it.
I have zero problems.
That's exactly the camp I'm in.
Yeah, I have no problems with him at all. I actually like his channel. and the meticulous work he does in pointing everything out is awesome. So, yeah, that's not what we were talking about. But we'll just leave it right there.
Yeah.
So
that fucking airplane disappeared, man. It was crazy. Like,
you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of, and I'm not saying this is what it is, so please don't misconstrue it. It reminded me of missiles looking for a lock on something that has no heat to it. Like if engines died and they're trying to get a lock on it and they can't, and they'll circle it because there's a little bit of heat there.
Because it's in a deadlock because it can't lock on anything. Yeah.
And then goodbye. But that's not for me to tell. It could be disappearing for all I know.
You know, like I tend to be skeptical. When I first saw that, it's so radical.
Yeah.
It's so radical that even me who likes to keep an open mind and be like, let me break this down and see. I was like, man, somebody did a really good job on this video. Like, I mean, that's okay. But then like I started like looking at some of the details and then taking the science that I know and then taking all the stuff that we talk about and then taking all the things that I personally believe and that I preach on this channel, you know, and I'm like, this is exactly how it kind of works though. And then the motions are all correct. And then you hear things about like, well, look, they're passing through you know, the vapor trails or whatever out the back and it's not affecting it. And I'm sitting there reenacting things in my mind where I had my little scalar coils hooked up where it just, you know, throws out like no frequency, total cancellation for the most part with a piece of quartz jammed right in the middle for good measure, you know. And I could feel the energy coming off of this thing like nobody's business. Like, I mean, from 6 feet away, I could feel it. If I go up close to it, hold my hand, I could actually feel the energy on my hand, you know, and so on and so forth. Like, well, but if I go and I like blow some vape smoke on it and stuff, it'll do strange but normal things. Like it will not propel it or affect it. If anything, it'll just linger around it a little bit. It will not affect it in any sort of way. So, you know, like these types of energies don't necessarily just have an atmospheric effect on everything around it necessarily, like all the time too. And that was just another check in the box.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying it's one way or the other. I find it fascinating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you want to believe everything. You know what I mean? That's the crazy thing because of what we work on. I absolutely want to be on that side of it.
Yeah.
No, but
when you had the Graviflyer, I remember you did the smoke machine.
Yeah.
And literally it was like it wasn't there. It just breezed right by it.
Yeah, like it wasn't there.
So there you go. Proof in the pudding, right?
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. It's definitely interesting. And if it's 100% true, then we got a whole new world to play with. But it makes it so much easier to come out with what we're doing and show it off.
Yeah, no. I'm 1,000% in your camp on that. 1,000%. Anyway, it's been almost 3 hours, guys.
Yeah. I gotta set up this whole thing, man. I gotta set up a whole nother camera and everything. I'm trying to get a close-in look with a far-away look and try to combine it. I don't know how it's gonna work. So we'll see. Anyway. All right, guys. I just want to thank everybody in the chat. You guys have been awesome. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Joe. Been an awesome show. And with that said, you guys got anything?
No. Happy New Year. Peace and love.
Oh, yeah. Happy New Year.
And have a good night.
Right on. Just real quick, so everybody knows, tomorrow I do a live at the same time, but it's going to be hot voltage, and I'm going to do it in the lab. Wednesday, we're going to have a regular Wednesday show, even though it's the new year. So,
I'm looking forward to it. Catch you then.
All right, everybody. Have a good
night.
night.